So what happens when a narcissist hoover is unsuccessful? What's that actually look like? What's actually going on both sides? Let's talk through that a little. You see, a narcissist will make behavioral modifications
to blend into modern society.
why don't they love me? Like, why didn't they come back? Like, if you've been with a narcissist, they didn't care to start off with. Have you been confused about a narcissist coming back into your life? Maybe you've seen this be a cycle or a pattern over and over and over again where he keeps coming back into your life. You keep being like, no, I don't want this. You keep breaking up. He keeps leaving you, whatever it might be. And you think it's over, but then he comes back. Maybe you're wondering why narcissists start to do this process called hoovering, where they actually come back into the relationship or they bring you back into the relationship over and over and over again. But it doesn't really seem like true change or transformation actually happens. What's going on with that? Why is this actually happening? So let's talk about hoovering today, okay? So hoovering, what we're going to do is we're going to define it a little bit. We're going to talk about traditional hoovering. Then we're going to talk about reverse hoovering. And then we're going to talk about what if they didn't hoover? Like, what's that actually like? And hoovering as a definition as a whole. Okay, so what is hoovering? Hoovering is the idea of getting someone to come back into that abusive cycle time and time again. Really is like emotional blackmail. It's the idea that you're leaving and I need you to stay, so I'm gonna do everything in my power to convince you to stay, even though I don't even want that. Even though that might not be the end result, even though that might not be how it's going to transpire, I'm still gonna try to keep you a little bit longer. I'm trying to hold on to you just a little bit longer. That's part of my hoover. Now, there's different types of hoovering, and we'll get into that. But what I want you to understand is hoovering is the idea. So the word hoover, okay, it sounds kind of weird. It looks like, the vacuum cleaner company, but what it is like hoovering. It's coined from that, and it's the idea of being able to like suck someone back in to the cycle of abuse. So when they're hoovering you, they're like a vacuum. They're literally just like sucking you back to what you thought you were getting out of. They're sucking you back into the abuse that you thought that you were going to be okay to get rid of. You thought that you were going to be free, and they change that thought process in you, and they hoover you back by false promises, by future faking, by lying, by saying all these different type of things that's going to get you back to a place where you agree and you understand, hey, this person cares about me, when they actually didn't. And that's what hoovering does. It pulls you back in to that cycle of abuse. Now, hoovering can happen inside the relationship and can happen outside the relationship. Majority of the time, we talk about it outside the relationship because we normally don't define it in the relationship as actually being like a hoover. And typically, it becomes across as like lying or future faking or gaslighting. And all those do coexist inside the actual relationship. But when you think about it, a hoover is just pulling you back in. It's pulling you back to that abuse. So like anytime you start getting distant, anytime you start stepping away from the narcissist, stepping away from their abuse, that's their chance to be able to hoover you back and to get you closer. So you might start pulling back. You might start gray rocking. You might start doing something that the narcissist starts picking up on of, wait a second, they might actually be thinking about leaving. So I need to change something up. All right, let me pull out love bombing. Now I'm going to give them some presents. Now I'm going to future fake. I'm going to promise them a trip. Now I'm going to lie to them saying that I had no intention of being with this person. Like that never happened. And I'll give only like 1% of 100% truth. And you'll see this happen time and time again because hoovering is the idea of sucking you back in to that abusive cycle. You see, most people, they don't go into abusive cycle thinking like, oh, I'm going to go be with this person and be abused. Like that's not someone's thought process. But when they're in that spot and they start to get abused and they start to realize, they start to pull back and they start to think like, maybe this isn't the best idea. Maybe I'm not safe. Maybe this is not how a relationship should actually be and function. And they'll start pulling away. And at that point, as the narcissist, my job is to pull you back and to keep you. We're going to do that with isolation. We talked about that a couple of videos ago. Or we'll do that with gaslighting. We'll do that with lying and manipulation. A lot of times we'll do that with love bombing. We'll start giving you a lot more praise. We'll start giving you a lot more validation. We'll start giving you a lot more gifts, a lot more trips, a lot more things that we're going to do. We'll start future faking about what's going to happen, what's the future going to look like, how our kids are going to be, like how our friendship's going to be, how our business is going to be, whatever it might be. We'll keep that going. Because the goal is to keep that going for as long as possible so you can maintain the supply. and keep that person on tap. So that hoover at times will happen inside those relationships, and it takes form in a lot of different areas. So that's kind of like the idea of the hoover. So like your traditional hoover is when either you have broken up with the narcissist or they have broken up with you. And then you start to realize, hey, life's actually pretty good. This is a lot better living with less stress, with less anxiety, with less anxiety of getting yelled at or cussed out at or driven off the road. Like, this is a lot safer to live without this person in my life. And all of a sudden they come knocking on your door. They shoot you that text. They give you that call. And that hoover can be anything and everything all at once. Now what I mean is it can go from, I miss you and I want to be with you, to, I just want to see the dog that we got together. Like, some people are like, no, like, it wouldn't be that crazy. It is that crazy, because you'll see people that will open the door of communication just a tiny bit. And the next thing, the narcissist is back in their lives. You'll see someone that'll open the door a tiny bit to communicate about getting their belongings, and then the narcissist is living in their house. You'll see someone open the door to communication just a tiny bit by picking up that phone call, and the next moment they're together. You'll see that person that answers the phone call that does a FaceTime with the narcissist, and the next time they're back and they're engaged. And you're like, wait a second, how's this happen? Like, these are people that have been abused and they're back with this person. Yes, because a narcissist is very good at hoovering you back in, very good at sucking you back in to the cycle of abuse that they've created and that they've developed over a period of time that you start to think is normal. And in those moments of clarity, when you think it's not normal, that's your chance to run. Because you have to remember that. You have to understand what's going on. But the narcissist doesn't want you to do that. That's why they put the fog of fakeness, the fog of lying, manipulation, gaslighting, love bombing, future faking, all there to be able to keep you. So your traditional hoover is where they try to come back, where you've pushed them out, where they've left, and then they try to come back. That's why I say, go no contact, ghost. Make sure there's no way for them to come back, because if there is a door open, they will find it. If there's a sliver open, they'll slide through it. If there's an inch, they'll take a mile. So be careful when you leave your narcissist. A lot of times they'll hoover and they'll try to suck you back in. Now, there's other aspects in different relationships, how they've been brought up, how the codependency has been dealt with on a person-to-person level, that they won't institute a traditional hoover. They'll institute what's called a reverse hoover. That's where I stand back and I wait for you to contact me, because I know you will. Because I know you want that love and validation. Because I know you want that connection to the person you thought you fell in love with. Because I know you want that sex that I made so great for you. That's what a narcissist is thinking, because they know you're going to come back. And the reason why they know that, majority of the time, majority of people I talk to, majority of times they know you're going to come back, is because you already have several times before. And they know they can sit there and wait patiently for you to doubt yourself, for you to question your reality, and for you to come crawling back to them asking for forgiveness for what they did. That's the concept of reverse hoover, where they use you against yourself to get you back. Now, you might be sitting here and you might be thinking, I wasn't with my narcissist, and now I'm broken up with my narcissist, and they didn't hoover me. They didn't try to get back with me. They didn't contact me. They ghosted me. They left. They went with a new supply. They didn't try to do a reverse hoover because they knew at that point I wasn't going to come back. And then you'll be sitting there for a moment and you'll start to think, why didn't they hoover? Like, why didn't they reach back out? Because this is what I hear. This is what I see on a lot of social media. I see a lot of people saying, like, oh, they hoover all the time. I say that. I say that to everybody. I said they hoover all the time, because I say that so that people close the doors, so that even if they try, you're not going to get used and abused. Okay? But people will start to question, they'll start to doubt themselves, and they'll start to think, why didn't my narcissist hoover me? And what'll infiltrate that thought a couple layers down is this concept. Was I not good enough? Did he not love me? What did I do wrong? And those thoughts will slowly infiltrate your mind and take over your reality, reeling you in with feelings and thoughts and doubting yourself to the point that it goes to reverse hoover, or you reach out for closure, or you reach out for understanding, or you reach out to yell at them or scream at them or just cry. Don't do it. That's what they want. Narcissist wants a reaction. Narcissist, first of all, foremost, wants control. Control over everything, control over you. The second thing they want is if they can't control you, then they'll react. They'll make you react. That's still a form of control. They're controlling your reactions, your feelings, your emotions, your perceptions. If they can control you, then they'll control your actions. If you stop with the control, if you put them out, and you don't let them back in, you don't let them hoover, you don't let them reverse hoover, you don't go back to them, you've taken away that aspect of the control. Stop letting the narcissist control you on a day-to-day basis by reacting to the abuse that they put you under. Instead, let's work to deal with that so that you can find a place of healing, growth, and change and be the best version of yourself on a day-to-day basis. This is what I do with people on a one-on-one basis in coaching sessions where I talk to them and we work to dive levels deep underneath the surface to figure out what is the story that you're telling yourself? What is the fable that you fabricated based on the lies that the narcissist has put on you? And as we find that, we get underneath the surface and we see what's actually going on with you and we say, hey, how does this match up to reality? And what are the facts that support the fable that we've just believed? And oftentimes people get to that moment and they start realizing in a moment of clarity that the story that they've been telling themselves, the story that's been put on them by the narcissist is completely false, completely fake, and based on a bed of lies. And when they start to shed light by looking at the truth, the facts of the situation, they start to clear the fog that's in their head and they start to understand truth and clarity and see a greater purpose in their life than just existing in that moment. It's hard. Sometimes I talk with people and I try to go through that process. It's not cookie cutter, it doesn't fit for everybody. But I try to go through that process or some form if we have to adjust or something like that. And there's some people that don't want that process. There's some people that would rather look at the narcissist, that would rather look at the situation than they would look inward and say, hey, what is actually going on inside me? What's the story that I'm telling myself? What's the fable that I'm believing? And as a result, they can't get out of that mindset. They're stuck. Now, I'm not trying to say that without empathy, and I'm not trying to say like, oh, like those people like don't matter. No, I'm trying to say like some people will come and they'll try to talk and all they want to understand is like, I don't understand why. And I get that. And it's hard for people to understand why from an empathetic standpoint of why a narcissist would do the things they do. I get that. But if all you do is dwell on that side, you'll never find healing. You'll never find growth in you. Because everything that's happened has brought you to this place to understand that you can do the work to change your life. But it takes work. It takes daily dedication to work on sacrificing those demons, those lies, those things that you believe, those fables every single day to get to a place of healing, growth, and change. And you can do it. And we try to do it with people on a day-to-day basis. If you're interested in talking one-on-one, would love to interact with you, go to my website, rawmotivations.com, click on one-on-one, grab a time, would love to sit down and talk with you one-on-one, deal with this, to work with the fable, to deal with the facts, to find the truth of the story, and help you find healing, growth, and change. Would love to interact with you more about that. If you want to be a part of a community that is rising with a lot of different people who've been with narcissists, who've been in a narcissistic abusive relationship, then go online and download the NARC app. You can get it from my website, or you can go to Apple, or you can go to the Google Play Store and you can download the NARC app, N-A-R-C, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. You'll find like-minded people that have been through the same shit or worse than you, that are there striving for healing and change on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot of other supports. There's a lot of other resources you can get out of the app. We're trying to connect with more creators who are putting up more courses, who are offering more coaching, more support groups, all this type of stuff that we're trying to put in your hands so that you can be enabled to be the best person you could possibly be and to expand your capacity to grow and change into the best version of yourself. I hope you enjoyed what you watched here today. Please subscribe to my channel. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Just show some love, give some support there. Would love to have you listen to some of the podcasts. We got Inspire, Motivate podcast that comes out every Friday right now. So just look up Raw Motivations. You can click down below and see Inspire, Motivate. Give it a like, give it a rating as we're trying to increase our awareness out there to people understand about narcissistic abuse. Awareness, growth, healing, and change. That's why I'm here. Thanks so much. Have you been with a narcissist that's brought you back or gotten back with you or hoovered you? A lot of times we've done videos about narcissist hoovering or sucking you back into that toxic relationship, but sometimes the question is posed of why? Why are they actually doing it? What is the reason why? Well, I want to dive into today 7 reasons why a narcissist hoovers you. Why they try to come back into your life, why they try to get you sucked back into that toxic relationship, and a couple reasons why. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. We do that on all different platforms by dropping small nuggets of truth. So if you don't follow already, look at TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn to be able to see some of the videos that we post on a day-to-day basis. YouTube, we're dropping longer videos every single day at 11 and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Would love to be able to have you engage with the podcasts, not just the Raw Motivations podcast, but a new one that we have coming up called Trauma, Drama, and Life. It's where I sit down with my wife, Kayla, and we actually discuss some of our past, some of the pitfalls of being in a relationship with a narcissist, of going to counseling, of doing all these different things that I'm sure a lot of you guys have tried or have experienced. So feel free to check that out on Apple Podcasts. It's called Trauma, Drama, and Life. If you want to interact with me or talk through some of the stuff that you're going through, I work with people to help them break out of a trauma bond, to be able to work through the aspect of, hey, and I know in my head that this person is toxic and I shouldn't be with them, but I still want to be with them. So I help people to rewire their mindset, to break free from that toxicity and actually work through the rumination piece and try to help people become healthy, happy, and healed as they move forward, setting boundaries so they don't go back with the narcissist and so they don't get with someone down the road that's toxic as well. I'd love to be able to work with you one-on-one. I do coaching to try to help people out of the relationships through the exit strategy, and also if they've been free for a while to rewire that mindset. You can go to rawmotivations.com, click on the one-on-ones. Would love to interact with you there. Last thing I wanted to talk about is the NARC app. If you haven't had a chance to download it, go to narcapp.com, N-A-R-C-A-P-P, narcapp.com, and it stands for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. It's a community of like-minded people to help spread that awareness, growth, and change. You can go in there, you can take courses, you can track your no contact, you can record your truth, you can interact with a lot of other survivors on the app that are there to help encourage and support you. So when you're struggling, you can ask for advice. You can get advice on specific situations. You can help with the no contact of like, I feel like I'm going to break it. And all those different things can be done inside the app to help you progress and move forward. Also, we have weekly lives where we answer specific questions that you ask throughout the week, and we engage in different activities to help you continue that growth process. Every month, we're bringing in coaches from around the globe to be able to help you expand your capacity and your mindset as you continue to move forward and get away from the narcissist and start focusing on you as you start to heal and grow and change. Anyways, that's all I got. So, why does a narcissist hoover? Why would they come back? Because oftentimes it seems like they're done, right? It seems like they discarded you, they left you, they smeared you, all that kind of stuff. Why would they even come back? A lot of times people are like, no, it's the final discard. I know it is. And then they call me back 6 months later and like, you're right. They came back. They reverse hoovered me. They hoovered me. They walked into my life, all different types of things. And you can't put a time limit on it. Sometimes you think, well, it's been 6 months. They haven't contacted me. I must be safe. Like, whew. No. Okay. I've talked to people that have been 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years. That the narcissist has come back into their life in some form or another to try to hoover them, to try to mess with them. But the big question is not of them coming back in. I have lots of videos on that. Block, ghost, go no contact. That responsibility is on you, not on the narcissist. Okay, they didn't care about you in the relationship. They're not going to care about you after. Guard yourself, block, make sure they can't contact you. Okay, period. Side note, watch any of those videos there. Anyways, why does the narcissist hoover? Okay, why? So we're going to dive into 7 of them. First one, a lot of times they hoover because they ran out of supply and they need something from you. Sometimes this is the aspect of the supply that they were with broke up with them. Maybe they lost that person. Maybe they got discarded. Anything like that. And they're like, I need something now. I need supply. Now, sometimes this gets confusing because the narcissist will still reach out and hoover you while they're with supply. That's because with those people, a lot of times one supply is not enough. And they have to keep adding to people on the shelf that they can reach back in, pull off the shelf, tap whenever they want, and get whatever they want from that person. Typically, when a narcissist is running out of supply, they're looking for someone else to meet their needs. Maybe to take care of them, to give them money, to have a place to crash, or just to be able to get sex from that person. Whatever it might be, a lot of times a narcissist will hoover you back when they run out of supply. Number 2 is sometimes they hoover you back because they're envious of you and they want to tear you down. You see, some people get out of the narcissistic relationship and they start to glow up. They start to look great. They start to process a lot of things. They start to excel in business, in relationships, in family, all these things because they no longer have that toxicity on them. And then that person looks back, the narcissist looks back and they're like, wait a second. Like you're getting higher up there. You're getting more established in business. You're getting wealthier. You're looking better. All these type of things. I'm going to come back into your life and tear you down because I don't like how that makes me feel. I don't like how it looks that I'm not better than you. So I'm going to come back into your life and destroy you. Third reason, a lot of times the narcissist will come back into your life and hoover because they're bored. And it's a sad illustration, a sad reason, but a lot of times they're bored and they're like, let me find someone else that I can mess with. Well, I have this past person. I have these litany of past people. Let me go try to tap on one of them and see if I can get something out of them or create a reaction, or I'm content with where I am right now. Let me just go blow something else up. Like that's what happens a lot of times is they'll get bored and they want to add more to the list of the people that they're going to control. Maybe they feel like they don't have enough supply in their life. Maybe it's not enough. So it's let me go back, blow some stuff up, see what happens, shake the tree, get some reactions, get a little supply from all that, and then go back doing whatever else I am. A lot of times it's boredom. Sometimes the narcissist, number 4, wants to hoover because they want a challenge. You're like, why? Like, that's crazy. Like, go climb a mountain or something. Well, a challenge to be able to manipulate another person. A challenge to be able to control another person. And so a lot of times you'll see a narcissist that comes back into your life specifically to try to break down your boundaries. Maybe you said you didn't want to have sex before marriage, or maybe you said you didn't want to go on this trip with that person, or maybe you said that you didn't want to move out of the town with their families, and whatever it might be, and they come back in, they're like, please marry me. And you're, oh my gosh, and then they get exactly what you didn't want them to do. They'll come back in to be able to break your boundaries. And it's not just enough for the narcissist to come in and break your boundaries or break through them, but if they can have you break them, that's a bigger high. Can I get you back just to see what's going on, just to see if it's possible? Maybe I want to brag, or maybe I want to prove in my own head, you still want me, because the challenge was to break down your boundaries and you're still back with me. So therefore, I must be the catch. That's like the narcissistic thinking. Okay. Other one, number 5, validation. To know that someone cares and someone loves me. Okay? Now, it might seem like kind of like skewed because everybody's like, oh, narcissists are in love with themselves. No, they're in love with the mask. And so if they can get someone else to come in and validate that mask and make them feel better about themselves, make them feel better about the image that they're putting out there, a lot of times they'll do that. Maybe they're looking for emotional support, physical, or just financial, whatever it might be. Let me go ahead and see who's in my life that I can tap for that type of validation. Now, when I was doing this, one of the people suggested, they were like, I think sometimes they come back into your life to steal your light, or because you're such an amazing person. And I had to put this on the list, not because I believe it's true, but because I don't think it's true. And I think we need to look at it really quick. For a narcissist coming back into your life thinking, this person has something I want. They have empathy. They have love. They have care. They have kindness. I want that in my life. It doesn't really happen. You don't really have a narcissist that's coming back to steal your light because they don't really care about whatever light you have. A lot of times the narcissist is coming back in your life to manipulate and control, but not because you've got something that they actually want. They might have something, you might have something that they want to apply on their mask, but nothing they're going to internalize. Okay? Other reason that they have for coming back into your life. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Vindictive. A lot of times they come back for the vindication. So they just want to get revenge on you. They want to make you hurt. Maybe because you actually left them and you're like, I'm done with this toxic person. And they're like discarded. And they're like, wait a second, I got to figure out how to get back at this person. And we see a lot of times a narcissist will be really vindictive to come back. Now I'm talking even to like the level of like come back, court, date, get with someone. I don't even know why I said court. Sorry. Get back with someone, sleep with someone, or get ready to sleep with someone and then walk out. Like these are real life examples of people that have come back. The narcissist has come back into that person's life. Literally, narcissist came back into the person's life. And they got together and got ready to go upstairs, get in bed, and he walks out. Never heard from him again. Because the goal was to be vindictive and to hurt the other person. A lot of times you'll have a narcissist that'll hoover back to be able to destroy you even more. One thing I wanted to say is like a lot of times it feels like that narcissist knows that you're doing better, right? Like you just start to get your head above water. You just start to work on a couple things. You're like, I'm finally getting free. And they're like, hey, back in your life. Well, it's because narcissists oftentimes have a sixth sense of when to come back in. It's almost like they know when to come back in. Sometimes they know because they're used to your cycles. They're used to how you interact. They're used to the time frame, and they've gotten used to it internally, mentally, emotionally, of when would be a good time to come back into your life. That's why you have to make sure that you're the one that blocks, that you're the one that keeps up all the hoover protection to keep you safe from that toxic person. Because you never know when they're going to come back into your life. Oftentimes when you feel like you're doing the best ever, you'll see them pop up. The real test is when they pop up, how do you handle them? How do you make sure that there's not a way for them to pop up? How do you make sure that there's not a way for them to contact you or run into you, to be able to take anything you can to have that high protection so that you keep away from being hoovered? You see, a narcissist will make behavioral modifications
to blend into modern society.
How do people end up getting back with a narcissist? How do people end up getting sucked back into a toxic relationship? A lot of times you'll have a narcissist, a toxic person, sociopath, psychopath, whoever, that'll end up sucking you back in, end up hoovering you back into the relationship, into a relationship that you know cognitively this isn't a good relationship. Or you remember but discount the abuse that happened inside the relationship, the physical, the mental, the emotional violence that would happen inside the relationship and just be like, it wasn't that bad. How does this end up happening? Why does it end up happening? You see, a lot of times, whether you discard or whether the narcissist discards, you'll end up getting to a place where they'll try to come back. And sometimes people are like, no, I don't think they're going to come back. And a lot of times they do. And what I want to caution you is to actually be prepared and be ready for someone to come back into your life that's toxic and to keep that door shut so that they can't come back in. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this platform to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. If you haven't followed us on all the other platforms, we drop nuggets of truth everywhere, every single day. Typically about like 4 or 5 a day on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Would love to be able to have you like, rate any of the podcasts, share it with other people, and watch some of the videos, follow us anywhere to help with the community and just help build awareness. If you don't follow on any of those platforms, just look me up under Raw Motivations. Raw Motivations. Just type that in. It'll pull right up. If you want to be involved in a community of like-minded people that's helping others heal, grow, and change, then download the NARC app. Just type in NARC. What it stands for is Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. It's a community of like-minded people that have come together to try to help each other grow through the crazy making, get clarity through the confusion, and help people understand what narcissism is and how to be able to overcome it. As a result, we've got courses in there about healthy dating after abuse, the gaslighting, setting boundaries, the lies that you believe, like set you free through different pieces that are in there, and exercises to be able to help that. If you're just here today and you don't know what narcissism is, download the NARC app. There's a free course on there just talking about NPD defined, where I kind of go through the 9 narcissistic traits that make up the narcissistic personality disorder so that you can understand them better and have a better idea of what's actually going on with it. We're working on some even like tests and quizzes to try to give you an idea of maybe who's toxic, who's not toxic. Not a diagnosis, but just to give you an idea and more concepts. We'd love to have you engage on the platform as well. We've got weekly lives that happen inside the app. We've also got monthly coaching, the Zoom coaching with myself and other coaches around the globe to be able to help you heal, grow, change, and develop. We'd love to have you be a part of that. So please check it out. Download the NARC app. Just type in NARC. If you want to meet with me one-on-one, would love to talk to you, would love to interact with you, would love to be able to help provide clarity to the confusion and to the crazy making that happens in the relationship that you just got out of or that you're just in. I work with people each day to try to help build exit strategies or how to break the trauma bond to be able to get free from that relationship, how to be able to progress forward and get through the addiction stage and set up healthy boundaries moving forward. If that's you today and you want to talk, you can go to rawmotivations.com, click on one-on-ones. Would love to interact with you, would love to talk to you. So please check that out. So we're talking today about like how does a narcissist hoover you back? Because in the relationship, it gets really abusive. A lot of times it gets really mean. They'll be yelling, be upset, be cussing you out. Like sometimes there's physical violence, a lot of different things. And then it gets to the place where either you're able to get out or they discard you. And a lot of times you'll have them discard you and then they go on a smear campaign of telling people how awful you were, of how you were the abusive one. After all that, after everything that happens, you wouldn't think that they try to come back, right? And most people don't. Most people are like, no, like I think we're good. And then a lot of times I hear from them a couple months later or 6 months later and they're like, you're right. They did come back and I should have blocked them because now I'm stuck back in it. I'm stuck back in the mess. If that's you today and you're like, wait a second, like this is my 2nd time, my 5th time, my 20th time, like doing this whole thing, I want you to understand you're not crazy. But what you're going through is producing that crazy feeling, that crazy response, and we need to break you out of it because you'll get stuck in a cycle of always going back. A lot of people question of like, not just how do they come back, but like, why do I go back? And a lot of that goes down to the fact of having a trauma bond, the trauma bond that knows in your mind, hey, this relationship's toxic. I have more stress, I have more anxiety, I have more fear, I have all these different things that pop up in my life when I'm with this person, but I still want them. And a lot of times that's because we're stuck on the hope, the potential, the cognitive dissonance that's been portrayed intermittently throughout the relationship. So when we talk about hoover, we talk about a narcissist sucking you back into toxicity. Think of like the vacuum. A hoover vacuum, it's the idea. Sucking you back into that toxic environment, that toxic, unhealthy environment. And how do they do that? Well, a lot of times when we're talking about narcissists, they do that by future faking. And future faking is one of the most popular ones that a narcissist will use to be able to get back into your life. As a result, they'll show up at your doorfront, crying, begging, on their knees. They'll give you flowers. They'll make all these promises to do things that they've never done before, which latches on to that hope of maybe they're going to change. And typically you'll start hoping and thinking like maybe this is actually what's going to happen. Like maybe this is the person that they're going to be to me. Like they're saying they're going to go do this. They're saying they're going to get help. They're saying they're going to get clean. They say they're going to go to counseling, all these different types of things, and that they're going to be better and nicer to me. And so you latch onto that. A lot of times you latch on to the potential that they once had. And you look at it and you're like, I know that they can be this way because they were this way at the beginning of the relationship, not knowing that the majority of what they were doing at the beginning of the relationship was already fake. And it's hard because with hope and potential, like you already want to believe, right? You're already positioned to have a good perspective of like, I love this person, so I want to be with them, so I'm hoping and I want them to change. The problem is a lot of times they'll only show slight change for a couple weeks, maybe a month, to make you think that it's real, to make you get back in with them, to make you get back in with, be with them sexually, or make them end up having like the label, now you're boyfriend, girlfriend, now you're getting engaged, now you're married, now you have a kid, like whatever it might be. They do that slight change so everything goes back to normal, where we sweep it under the rug and we ignore it to make you think that it's real, but it's not. The problem is oftentimes the change that they're exemplifying is what you gave them. the tools, the list of the things that you need to say of like, well, if we were going to get back together, like you'd have to go to therapy, you'd have to do this, you'd have to do this, you'd have to do this. And all of a sudden they're like, boom, 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 boom. And they check off everything on the list. Then they come back into your life. And then you wonder like, why does my life still feel so anxious and so toxic? It's because they didn't change. They just modified. You see, a narcissist will make behavioral modifications to blend into modern society. And as a result, they will do that time and time again to be with you, to extend their stay in your life. If I can extend my stay in your life, then I don't have to worry about the image that I'm putting out there, that I'm a good person. I don't have to worry about the image that I'm putting out there, that I'm a loving wife or a committed spouse. I'm trying to do this all the time to be able to keep a mask up. You see, when you run into narcissists, so when you run into the aspect of hoovering and sucking you back in, a lot of times you're already no contact, or you're separated, and all of a sudden something happens and they just appear, and all of a sudden they're back in your life. Well, it's very intentional. And I think a lot of people believe that it's just coincidence, but typically when we're talking about narcissists, it's not coincidence at all. All of a sudden you run into them at the same store. You start driving and you see them driving. You run into them randomly, when you're out with friends. Because a narcissist over a period of time will start to digest and learn your patterns, your behaviors, the places that you go, to get used to the idea of this is what I need to do in order to be able to manipulate, in order to be able to control. And just to give you an example, whenever my wife and I go shopping, I know how she navigates the store. Like, that's not something that I've talked to her about. That's not something that I've sat down and figured out. I just know when we walk in the door, typically if there's a produce section, she'll go to the produce section, then she'll go right, and she'll continue through the store. I know exactly which way she's going to go, so that if I step to the side, I can typically pinpoint where she's going to be. That's the idea. With a narcissist, they will get and hone in their skills to know your patterns, to know where you're going to be, to look at different descriptions, just to be really good stalkers a lot of times, and they will run into you on purpose. And when they do that, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. Well, that's because you didn't realize what they were thinking and what they were doing to end up getting control over you. Oftentimes you get sucked back into the relationship. You get sucked back into that toxic relationship because you think the narc wants to love you. The problem is the narcissist doesn't. They're not out there to love you. They're out there to love their mask, to love what they're putting out there. So I want you to think of a couple things today to try to be able to help. Let's call it hoover protection. Try to be able to put up hoover protection so that they don't come back into your life. Okay? One of the first things I want to say is if you're out of the relationship, you need to block, you need to ghost, you need to go no contact, you need to make sure that there's no way for them to have access to you. That means go through your entire block list, all the social medias on your phone, different texting, different apps, Venmo, Spotify, Alexa, you name it. All those different things, those people need to get blocked and taken off different accounts. Because they will use anything to trigger a response from you. All they have to do is get a response. Doesn't matter. All they have to do is get a response. Doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be bad. Just has to be a response that feeds their supply. So make sure that they're blocked. Okay. When you're talking about making sure that you don't get hoovered back in, make sure if you do run into them, if something happens, tell them no. Make sure you understand early on, if in the relationship or at the end of the relationship, hey, there's a boundary here. Set a boundary, because they'll try to come back in your life, and you need to understand, hey, if you're coming back in my life, here's my standards. Don't give them all of them, but give them at least a couple of, here's my standards. See if they meet those, and then see if they continue growing, healing, and changing, or if they just revert back. Don't jump back into the relationship. Don't think that all of a sudden they're going to magically love you because they want to propose to you or they want to have a kid when they've been gone for a while and they're hoovering you back in. Make sure that the self-help work on their side, if they come waltzing back into your life, make sure that self-help work on their side has already been started. A lot of times people will say, well, it would have been different if you actually would have worked on yourself or gotten to therapy. And then all of a sudden, they're in therapy. So make sure if they hoover you, if they start coming back into your life, you also need to look and be okay, first tell them no, and then set boundaries. And then also make sure, hey, if they're really trying and they're really up there, make sure that you're actually seeing that self-help has actually been started before they come back. Because oftentimes they'll be I just want us to work on it together. I just want you to be in my life to support me. No. Those are all lies and facade to keep you on the hook and to keep you still in their lives and to keep you on tap. So please be careful that narcissist doesn't hoover you. If they pop into your life, make sure you set boundaries, make sure you tell them no, and make sure you're evaluating the people that are in your life that are spreading more toxicity. The holidays are approaching, and it's time for all the toxic people and the narcissists to come out of the woodwork that you thought you'd never hear from ever again, and it's time for them to come out and try to suck you back into toxicity. Are you ready today for the holiday hoover? Hi, if you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, creator of the Narc app, and your guide in the 45-day clarity challenge. Well, we're getting into the holiday hoover season here with its gift of holiday hell with toxicity. And you have to be careful, and you have to understand that there's a lot of things going on in the holiday season to pull you back. My goal today is to be able to help you be prepared to withstand the holiday hoover. Even just a couple weeks ago, going through different holiday, people were like, yep, had this person reach out, didn't even think they were going to reach out. Most people don't expect it because it will happen. There's going to be a hoover in the holidays. This year, don't be naive. Don't think that this isn't going to happen to you or that you're above this or that there's no way that it's going to happen. I want you to be on guard and say, hey, I'm not going to let this affect me. I'm not going to let it control me. And I'm definitely not going to get pulled back. So just understand, it can happen to anyone. No one is above it. No one is at a place where their toxic person won't come back. If you're thinking they're not going to come back because I exposed them, they're not going to come back because they're with a new supply, they're not going to come back because they've had a kid with this next person, they're not going to come back because they moved out of the country, you never know. So I want to make sure today that you're ready for the holiday hoover, because that hoover oftentimes is coming in the middle of the holidays. It's a great time for toxic people to try to suck you back into life. You see, in the holidays, hit a narcissist oftentimes right where it hurts. It hits with the insecurity of like, wait a second, it's a holiday, it's not a narc day. It's a holiday, it's not all about me. And that's the tough part, is a narcissist is very insecure. It doesn't look like it a lot of times. The ego, the entitlement, all those things doesn't always look like they're insecure, but the insecurity drives super deep. It taps into guilt, it taps into shame, and it controls a lot of their actions of like, it has to be about me. So for me, I've had to grow a lot in my insecurity to develop more security of who I am, of not letting other people define me or other people be defined by the mask that I put out there. Learning about that has been a whole nother ballgame in developing my security and sense of self. During this time of the holiday, it hits really hard because the attention is not all on me. So this is when a narcissist reaches out to other people to be able to get extra validation, to be able to build up emotional stability with interacting with someone else to make them feel better about themselves, that someone else out there wants them, interacts with them, can't wait to be with them, whatever it might be. And they'll reach out for extra validation. They'll reach out for supply. They'll go into a cheating relationship. They'll dive into work. They'll do whatever they can to be able to get that validation, that admiration from another person, place, or thing. Oftentimes, it's the validation, and sometimes it's just sheer boredom of maybe getting to the place where a narcissist doesn't have people to communicate. Maybe everybody left them over the holiday and they're like, I don't know what to do. Okay, they're going to start reaching out and cycling back through all the people in their life, all the people they used to interact with, because they want to build up something. Communication, attention, sex, whatever it might be. Like, I need to get something, so I'm going to continue to reach out during the holidays to probably a lot of different people to get what I want. Well, when we're talking about the holiday hoover, I'm going to give you 4 things today for hoover protection. Okay? Number 1, hoover protection is know your truth. So often we get into the holidays, we see, man, it's so great. Love, good tidings, good cheer, all this fun stuff, presents, Santa, whatever. Like, and you get to this place of like, oh man, it's great. And then someone reaches out, the toxic person reaches out, and you're like, oh, in the spirit of Christmas, I should be nice. And what you do is you start to cast to the side, you start to minimize and forget everything that that person did. You forget how they showed up. You forget how they cheated. You start to minimize the abuse that happened in the relationship. You start to minimize the holes that were punched in walls. You start to minimize the times you felt crazy because they kept yelling and screaming and gaslighting to you to make you feel like you were crazy. You forget a lot of times of what they demonstrated, of how they never demonstrated honesty by consistently lying to you. They never demonstrated respect by always yelling in your face. They never demonstrated so many different things that in the moment you start to put to the side and you're like, but it's Christmas. It's one of the worst phrases you can have with a toxic person, but it's Christmas. No, because you understand they didn't show up. And they haven't showed up in your life in a positive way for a long period of time. Big aspect is people think like, hey, it's the holidays, it's a great time, and they forget the other 365 days that person showed countless times that they didn't care, they didn't demonstrate love, and they didn't show up till now. Doesn't mean that they just had an epiphany and they got it all figured out. No, they know that you also came to the holidays with your empathy, with your sympathy, with your emotions, with your feelings, and say, hey, I feel alone. This is a great time to be able to leverage that. So number one, Hoover protection, know your truth. Number two, Hoover protection. Lock it down. Block. Ghost. Go no contact. So many times people go into the holidays thinking, I don't need to block. Like that just seems rude. That just seems mean. That just seems extra. They're really not going to reach out. It's totally fine. And you leave the door open to toxicity, just inviting it in. So many times people don't lock down their life from that toxic person of saying, hey, you are not having access to me anymore because of how you treated me, because of how you disrespected me, because of what you did. You no longer have access to this. You need to make sure that there's no way for that person to get to you over the holidays, that there's no way that they can actually access you, interact with you, anything like that. It has to be you block, you ghost, you go no contact. Like it needs to be something that you lock it down. You don't leave a door open. So many times people leave that door open and they don't think they're going to interact. They don't think they're going to respond, and they do. Please don't be naive about this, okay? Second, Hoover protection is to lock it down. Block, ghost, go no contact. Don't let them in. Okay. Third, Hoover protection. Stay consistent. Okay. Some of you are in a situation, maybe with joint custody, maybe with third-party apps, maybe something that you have to have some form of communication. What I need you to understand is you need to stay consistent. The holidays are no different than every other day in dealing with the narcissist because they do not care about you. They do not care about the holidays. They care about a great opportunity to be able to manipulate and control you. So you need to stay consistent. This day is the same exact as the other day, only the narcissist is trying to use it and abuse you by that day. That means no special treatment. Okay? They don't get an extra day. They don't get an extra phone call. They don't get X, Y, and Z because it's a holiday. Doesn't matter. Okay? You need to understand that if you have to have some type of communication, kid swapping, or maybe they're going to communicate the kids, FaceTime or something like that, keep it the same exact way as it's always been. That means if they're trying to communicate to the kids or something like that on a FaceTime, you give them the phone, or if they're too little, you hold the phone. You don't interact. You don't respond. You get out of the room if you can because you don't want to have that interaction. You want to stay consistent of no contact, of keeping it all towards them and not on you, because they'll use anything to get to you. The holidays, your friends, your family, it doesn't matter. Stay consistent because even though it's the holiday, it doesn't matter. It's the same exact day, no special treatment to the toxic person of letting them back into your life or letting them manipulate you. Number 4, Hoover protection is to know your limits. When we talk about limits, we're talking about your boundaries. Like, what are your boundaries? Do you have boundaries? Do you know what boundaries are? Have you established boundaries? Because you have to know yourself. You have to know the boundaries, the limits of what you're going to deal with, and you have to stick with those. So many times people get into the holidays, and it's not just their eating habits or their workout habits that go out the window. It's also their boundaries, and they're like, oh, it's okay. And then they wonder why they're getting hurt afterwards. You have to know your limits and stick with those. Stick with the boundaries that you've established. Just because it's the holiday season doesn't mean you throw out your boundaries. It means you stick with them even more because you're more susceptible to have someone come into your life to manipulate, to control, and to break those boundaries. Hoover protection. Know your truth. Lock it down. Stay consistent. Know your limits. Last but not least, protect yourself knowing that this is just an attempt of control. This is just another attempt to play the game to manipulate you, to get you under their control and manipulation of like, hey, I know this person is going to be going through a rough emotional time, so it'll be a great time for me to reach out because they'll probably let me back in because they're insecure about themselves. They don't know about me. They don't know the truth of the whole situation. They're not going to be consistent, and they know you're susceptible to this. So you need to understand this attempt, this holiday Hoover, is a game. Is an attempt to get back into your life because they didn't show up the other days. They choose to show up now because they know that you're susceptible to them. And I want to help prepare you with this Hoover protection so that you're not weak and you're able to stand up and say, no, I'm not interacting with this person. I'm knowing my truth. I'm locking it down. I'm keeping no contact. I'm staying consistent, no special treatment, and I'm knowing my limits because I'm keeping my boundaries. If you're stuck in those pivotal moments of like, do I respond? Do I interact? Sit down. Write down 25 things that person did to you and sign your name at the bottom saying, I agree that contacting this person lets all these things happen to me and I'm willing to accept that abuse. If you do that, a lot of times it'll wake people up and be like, no, hell no, I don't want this person back in my life because of what they did. I'm trying to be able to help you guys as best I can to be ready for the holiday Hoover. You can get through this. You can get through this holiday season. You can grow through this. Okay? If you need help, if you need encouragement going through it, go to narcapp.com, get involved with a narcissistic abuse recovery community, develop friendships, build encouragement, get advice from the people inside there, log in on the monthly coaching, the weekly lives, all the different things that are in there to help you heal, grow, and change. Go to narcapp.com, N-A-R-C-A-P-P, narcapp.com. As we get through the holidays and you want to start the new year fresh, knowing who you are, new year, new you, go to claritychallenge.net. claritychallenge.net for a 45-day clarity challenge that'll be kicking off on January 1st. Super excited. Sign up is the week before, and then we'll go live January 1st and be limiting the signups because we want it in groups of people going through to help each other with accountability, with responsibility to find out who you are. Hopefully this helped. Hope you remember this. Hopefully you're ready for the holiday Hoover, and stay strong. Narcissists try to Hoover you. Try to pull you back. Try to get you stuck in a toxic relationship over and over and over again. You see, my wife and I haven't always been together. And there's oftentimes pieces that people assume inside of our story of like knowing what it is and not knowing what it is. But what I have you understand is my wife left. There's a period of time where she got to the place where she realized I wasn't changing, I wasn't growing, I wasn't developing. And so she packed up her daughter, packed up her stuff, and she got in the car and she drove out of state and stayed with her family and left. Inside of this, my first attempt was like, how do I actually get her back? Now, if you saw some of the videos earlier this week, like part of it was also me talking through, I didn't want her. I wanted her to leave. I was confessing to be able to get her to leave. I thought this would be kind of like my free break where I could actually go be with other people. I thought all this stuff could actually happen. And so here I am thinking about this, but then there's a piece of me that activates being like, wait a second, that doesn't look good if I don't try to get her back, so I need to try. And so I tried to Hoover her. 2 weeks after I left, there was a couple things that happened. One was a phone call of me really just being like, hey, I think you need to come back. Like, I'm ready to work on this. Like, I'm better. I'm fixing this. Nothing had changed. Nothing was any different. I was still the same person. I was still messaging other women. I was still doing things on the side. There really wasn't a transformation. Then there was another piece that happened. That was me constructing and putting together a letter. And we got that here. And this letter is like 14 pages long. Right now it's highlighted and everything because my wife went through it. And this is full of pieces of manipulation. Like telling my wife one thing and then trying to manipulate it. Like telling her, hey, I was trying to do this, but because you rejected me. I was trying to open up, but because of this. It's interesting because I was looking through this. Like the first page like stops in and I'm talking about, hey, so I want to try to be vulnerable with you. Frankly, it scares me because being vulnerable with you is not an easy thing for me to do because you don't really know what me being vulnerable looks like. It doesn't look like me just spilling my guts and saying a bunch of things. It never has been like that. For me, being vulnerable had to do with me being willing to let someone push me to open up, but basically never was something that automatically opened up about things. It's really confusing already. But this whole piece of like, hey, you don't really know what vulnerability looks like. I'm choosing to be vulnerable. I'm choosing to give you this graciousness of me actually being vulnerable. And she's like, she wrote on the side, she was like, you've never really explained it. Like, you've never been vulnerable. You've never been willing to be invulnerable. And then this piece of like, oh, I'm going to be vulnerable, but only when you push me. Like, because I still wanted that chase. I still wanted her to come after me. Like, I'll be vulnerable, but you need to come knocking on the door and be like, please be vulnerable with me. Then I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll be vulnerable with you. But then when she would do that, when she would try to come after me being like, hey, what's going on? Like, you can be vulnerable with me. That's when I get upset at her. That's when I rage at her. I'm worried that I can't be vulnerable with you or transparent. When I have been in the past, a lot of times it prompted an action or a response from you that at times could shut me down. Do you see how I'm like blaming? When I've been vulnerable in the past, you've shut me down. When I've shown up in the past, when I've been honest in the past, you put me down. You did an action or a response. You did this. Remember? Narcissists always want to be able to put it on you. You did this. I was vulnerable. I was showing up so vulnerable, so wonderful, so nice, but then your actions, your responses made me shut down. See how manipulative that is? Like, I need you to hear this. And some of you, you might need to go back and read some of your text messages, like letters that you got from him, and to actually see this, that is actually breaking down this way. You aren't my safety. Yes, I know I'm not yours either. And becoming that is very hard with all the rejection and heartache that has happened over the years. Do you notice how I don't say the things I've done? Like, I'm not apologizing for the rejection, the heartache that I've caused. I just lay it out there. Rejection and heartache over the years. It's an implied ask that we all contributed. That's all it is. Like this whole piece, it's been hard for me to deal with this. Pity me. Struggle. I'm struggling so much. It's been hard dealing with all this rejection and heartache. What rejection and heartache did I have? I didn't care. Rejection, heartache that I caused, but I have to be able to lump that together so that I can be pitied as well. So this is my attempt to be open and vulnerable. I'm going to share a lot and try to open up a lot so you can respond or deal with it how you see fit. If you end up rejecting me for sharing that, that's fine too. I'm not saying you can only respond one way, but I'm going to open up some that I'm not going to apologize for that or the struggles I face. If you don't like that, then you don't have to be here. That being said, I'm not trying to piss you off with the intent that you will leave either. Like I said, it's not decisions, it's just my thoughts. Do with them what you will. That's how I start 14 pages. Narcissists will hoover and they'll try to manipulate you in multiple different ways. You need to understand it's very, very subtle in the communication to try to manipulate what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and what's going on. Narcissists get really good at saying a piece that feels like a compliment and then pulling it back. Saying a piece that feels like, hey, I acknowledge the stuff that I've done and all the heartache that's happened over the past couple of years. And you're like, wait a second, that doesn't actually acknowledge it. That doesn't actually accept it. That doesn't actually process it. There's no sorry. There's no apology. It's just manipulation. Like, it's just this process of trying to be able to control and manipulate the other person. So you have to think, like, where is this shown up in your life? Like, where is this shown up for you? Of how he's responded to you, how he's interacted with you, the letters that have gotten dropped off at your door because of the fact that you've got him blocked on everything. He's trying to suck you back in, and you read through it, and your heartstrings are pulled, and you're like, "Oh, he's showing up. Hey, I think he's being vulnerable. I think he's being honest. Maybe this will work now. Maybe he's changing." And all of a sudden, you're back in the relationship, and it's no different. Narcissists hoover you. They try to be able to use manipulative words, manipulative energy, thoughts, ideas, feelings to get you to a place where you respond the way that he wants you to respond, where you react the way that he wants you to react. You're going to see this happen over and over and over again, where he's going to try to manipulate and control you. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Because you can go in the camp of like, oh my gosh, he loves me, he cares about me because he's giving me this letter, he's giving me this communication, he's giving me this interaction. Like he's actually showing up real and honest and vulnerable. Like this is amazing. Or you can actually look at it for what it is, which is typically manipulation, because he's not actually apologizing. He's just putting it out there so that you can both agree that it's been toxic. He's not actually being honest with you. He's just putting it out there so you can both agree that, oh yeah, it hasn't actually been the best. Like this whole letter that I wrote to my wife was manipulative in nature, 100% through and through, because I wasn't in a healed state. I was just spouting off, trying to keep her, trying to get her, trying to make sure she didn't leave so I feel better about myself. That was it. He's trying to do the same thing. He's trying to manipulate to make sure that he feels better about himself. He feels okay. He feels confident in who he is when he's not even showing up as a man. Where in your life are you falling prey to the letters, virtual, real, thoughts, hopes, dreams, potential that you're believing about this person? Where are you seeing this happen? Where are you struggling with this? I want you to think and be careful about what you're going through today, about the hoover that's happening, the hoover that's going to happen, and how you're going to get sucked back into a toxic relationship. I want you to know that you can move forward, not having to fix him, not having to confront him, not having to work through some of those issues and questions, but you can actually stand up in your power and your confidence and your freedom, knowing who you are. If you're ready today to go from where you currently are, being trapped in this toxic relationship, being trapped with the rumination, trapped with the intrusive thoughts, trapped with the mindset that leaves you stuck, to freedom, then please reach out. Go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough today. Have you been confused about a narcissist coming back into your life? Maybe you've seen this be a cycle or a pattern over and over and over again where he keeps coming back into your life. You keep being like, no, I don't want this. You keep breaking up. He keeps leaving you, whatever it might be. And you think it's over, but then he comes back. Maybe you're wondering why narcissists start to do this process called hoovering, where they actually come back into the relationship or they bring you back into the relationship over and over and over again. But it doesn't really seem like true change or transformation actually happens. What's going on with that? Why is this actually happening? Today we're going to break down some of this aspect called hoovering. For those of you that don't know what it is, we'll break that down of what it actually is and then what it actually looks like in the relationship and what's going on inside the narcissist pulling you back over and over and over again. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness about narcissistic abuse. I show people, hey, this is my experience. This is what I've done. This is all the stuff that's in my past, saying this is what's happened and trying to help people understand the destructive nature of narcissistic abuse, how it destroys lives. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations and your guide in the 7-day challenge, which is Escape Toxicity. And you can access that at escapetoxicity.com. Just trying to help you understand and learn and know about narcissistic abuse. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, rate, review, share, so we try to spread the word about narcissistic abuse and how to get free. Well, oftentimes when you get free or when you get out of the relationship, it's not uncommon for a narcissist to come back and suck you back in. Now, this process is typically referred to as hoovering, based off of even the Hoover vacuum. The idea of the vacuum sucking up dirt, the narcissist ends up trying to suck you back into a toxic relationship. Over and over, people normally think that a narcissist won't come back. They think, well, he's out of my life, so why would he even come back? I exposed him, so he's not going to come back. He's married, so there's no reason why he'd come back. He's moved in with the new girlfriend, and he has a kid with her. There's no reason why he would come back. And oftentimes, this gives people a false sense of security of like, well, because all this has happened, he's not coming back, so I don't need to be the mean person and block him. What happens is you typically leave the door open, and oftentimes the narcissist comes back through that door. Now, whether it's actually back in a relationship with that person or back in a communication that starts to pull you off track of your healing journey and the growth that you actually want to do. As a lot of people say, narcissists don't come back. I'd rather you understand and believe that narcissists always come back. If you can believe that narcissists always come back, then it means you have a plan in place. It means that you have taken precautions so that there is no access that the toxic person has on you anymore. Now you're like, well, mine hasn't come back and has been 2 months. Okay,
So let's break it down really quick. The longest person that I've personally coached was 37 years that the person came back. Okay. In a live event about 2 weeks ago, someone commented that it was 42 years that they resurfaced back in their life. So just to quell all concern, if you have been away from your narcissist for over 42 years, then you can say, hey, I don't think they're coming back. But if you haven't been away from them for 42 years, please stop assuming that this person is not going to come back, especially if you have the door still open. Now, the door still open could be mentally, could be emotionally, could be physically, could be just giving access where they can still interact with you. So it's important to be able to understand that narcissists almost always come back. There's a few exceptions, okay? But as a whole, you want to plan on them coming back. Otherwise, you will be open and oftentimes susceptible to what they do, how they hoover to get you back under their control. Now, what is hoovering? We talked about it sucking you back into the toxic relationship. Remember that just a couple minutes ago? So when we talk about this aspect of hoovering, sometimes people get to the place where they think hoovering means care. Okay? Now with this, oftentimes it's like, wait a second. He left me. He gave up on me. What's wrong with me? And you start to think that your worth and your value comes from that person. That your worth and your value is dictated by that person being with or not being with you. And you start to think like, oh, he didn't care about me, so he actually didn't come back. What you need to understand with that statement is he didn't care about you, that's why he left. Not because he didn't come back. But the hard thing is I say, hey, all narcissists come back, and then someone sits in the corner and like, my narcissist didn't come back. That means there must be something wrong with me. No, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. What that means is the person in your life didn't value enough to actually be in your life, but instead he walked out on you. You need to be able to understand, because they don't come back does not mean that they didn't care. Because they left means that he didn't care. This hard part of understanding that hoovering doesn't mean care. You need to flip it around and understand that hoovering means control. When a narcissist is trying to suck you back into a toxic relationship, they're trying to control you. It is a tactic that narcissists use to maintain power and to maintain control over the victim. Like, let me do this to bring you back under the guise of what I want to do, under my power like dynamic, so that I can do what I want to do. To have you in my life, to eat my cake and eat it too, all this different kind of stuff. It's not an aspect of actual care. It's not an aspect of love. Like when you think that it's love or that it's care, that is a story that you're believing. That is a hope. That is a piece of the trauma bond that you're trying to believe and think, maybe this is going to happen. Maybe this is real. Maybe he actually cares about me, when it's not even true. Okay? This piece of hoovering is not about care. It is about control. It is about reestablishing dominance over the other person. It's by making sure that your emotions are no longer validated. The narcissists use these tools to lure people back into the toxic relationship. Even at the end of the relationship, a narcissist will do this to manipulate, to control, to bring you back. So when my wife was getting ready to leave multiple times, she didn't, because I manipulated her back. Because I said, no, don't leave. I want you here. When in reality, I didn't. I wanted her gone so I could go do whatever I wanted to do. But I didn't want to say that, because if I said that, that would make me look like a bad person. Okay, so I didn't want to say that, wanted to avoid that, so I still looked good. She left, so I could be a victim. Awful. Not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's how it actually plays out. Okay, narcissists will use a lot of different techniques to lure you back into the relationship, to keep you in the relationship. Okay, I'm talking about love bombing, talking about like fake apologies, false vulnerability, like giving you a lot of gifts, attention, praises, apologies to disarm you and to make you question, maybe my decision wasn't the right one. Yeah, he did cheat on me 20 times. Yeah, he was abusive. Yeah, he did put my head through a wall. But maybe, and those are all real examples, by the way. It's not just made up, okay? They'll use guilt tripping, like switching it back. Like, how could you leave me? Like, I need you. You're my person. Like, how could you leave me in my time of need? They'll use everything in the book. The thing is, a narcissist will play on your empathy to get you back, to pull you in, and to control you. This cycle of hoovering goes over and over and over again. Are you stuck in one of these? Like, not just you've left the narcissist and you're going cycle of narcissistic people. Okay, that happens too. But I'm talking about where you've left the narcissist and you guys have broken up like 20 times in the past 3 years. Like where this push, pull, back, forth, like you leave, he sucks you back. He leaves, he comes back into your life, like over and over and over. And it goes through the same cycle: idolization, devalue, discard, recycle. Like it goes through over and over again. The narcissist initially comes back with this like charm, remorse, like making you think that they've changed, that it's different this time. And then 2 months later, the mask slips and it goes back to normal. Discard happens all over again. Then the next time it happens, now it's 3 weeks. Now it's 2 weeks. Now it's 1 week. Now you just let them come back all the time. Okay? Because of how they're manipulating, because of how they're controlling. Okay? Narcissists are adept at doing this, of getting back with you over and over and over again. The thing you need to understand is typically it gets worse. When you're with a toxic person and they're verbally abusing you, then you leave and you come back, that new place of where they were verbally abusing you is now the new baseline. So then now they end up physically abusing you. And then you leave and come back. Now that abuse is now the new baseline. And then it keeps going more and more and more. This is why a lot of narcissists go from just emotional abuse and verbal abuse to physical abuse to extreme violence to extreme harm. It's very important for you to be very safe and understand that you're in not just a toxic situation that is awful for your mental and emotional state, but could also put you in a place of physical danger as well. This is why it's important to get out. This is why it's also important to set up healthy boundaries so that you don't go back and you don't let this person back into your life. You might see when you break up, when you're out and the narcissist is trying to hoover you back, you'll see a lot of different things. Apologizing profusely, crying, begging on your doorstep, a promise to change. They may engage in different acts of kindness, all different things, trying to get you to the place saying, oh, I've learned from my past mistakes. And you'll see this happen without true transformation because the change is not happening for them, because of them. It's happening for you, for the relationship, because they don't want to look bad. Like, as this happens, the narcissist will fake and future fake and get you to the place where you start to believe the lies that they're doing. You start to hope that they're actually changing. And then when you get back together, it changes all over again. And this further locks you in this cycle that becomes an addictive cycle happening over and over and over again. So it's important to be able to see that hoover is not care. Hoover means control. And a narcissist will try to do this to you over and over again. Don't believe it that the narcissist is not going to come back. You need to block, ghost, go no contact. Do not give access for him to come back in your life. If you need help with that or to work through the trauma bond, contact us at rawmotivations.com. We'd love to be able to help you work through this and to process it, to rewire your mindset so you no longer go back, no longer give access, and no longer let that person dictate your healing, your growth, and your change. Your narcissist didn't like you. That's why he didn't hoover. A lot of times people ask and they bring up this concept, they start talking to me about it, and they're like, wait a second, like, if they liked me, they would have come back. Like, they would have tried to hoover me back. They tried like the first 3 times. They tried the 4th time. Why didn't they try to hoover me back this time? Did they not just care about me? And a lot of times people get the concept of hoovering, of a narcissist trying to come back in your life to manipulate and control you. They get that crisscrossed a lot of times with the object and the idea of care. And oftentimes people start attributing those two things together. When you've broken out of the relationship, when you've moved on, when the relationship has fallen apart, he's discarded you, you've discarded her, whatever it might be. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, why aren't they trying to come back? What did I do wrong? What's going on? Did they not care? And a lot of times people start attaching care to hoovering, care to trying, care to coming back. And that's oftentimes why the door won't be completely shut, why people won't go no contact. Well, they'll keep it open just a little bit. They'll keep it cracked open just a little bit for the possibility that that other person is going to change, for the possibility that the other person is going to come back into their life and show them that they do care by trying one more time. This oftentimes gives people hope. It oftentimes gives people something to hold on to, something to reach out to, hoping and praying that maybe this time will be the time that they change. Maybe this time is going to be the time that is going to be different, that the relationship is going to work. that she's going to come back and be loving and respectful to your boundaries, or that he's going to come back and stop raging and yelling and abusing you. And there's always that hope that kind of holds people just a little bit longer. And oftentimes people look at that and they think if the person cared, then they would come back. Now, in a lot of relationships out there, that makes sense. In a lot of relationships, that's logical, because if a person cares about another person, then they might want them in their lives. They might want to show them love in different aspects. But that's not the case with a narcissist, because you have to stop and start to think about the concept that the narcissist didn't care to start off with. And oftentimes that reality seems frustrating. That reality seems very debilitating. That reality seems like the worst thing ever, because you hate to admit the idea that maybe I was with someone who actually didn't care about me to start off with. That doesn't mean you're stupid. That doesn't mean that you're silly for not seeing it, that you're an idiot for not seeing it. It doesn't mean that at all. It means you got manipulated. It means you got abused. It means that someone came into your life that was very good at lying, very good at manipulating, and they did that over a period of time. Not because you weren't worth it, not because that you didn't show love to them, that you didn't show up every single time, but because they only cared about themselves. And so often people think that they're going to change. People think that they're going to have a change of heart, that they're going to come back the second time, the third time, the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth time, that they're going to come back and it's going to be different because they care. Let me ask you something. As you look back on your relationship, as you look back at the relationship you had with her, the relationship you had with him, what are the ways that they demonstrated care? You see, sometimes when I'm sitting down with people and I'm talking one-on-one and we're going through step by step, working through the thoughts and the feelings that they have, that they're struggling with on a day-to-day basis, I'll ask them, how did they show care? How did they show love? When you have someone who's in a narcissistic, abusive relationship and I ask, how did they show love? Oftentimes I'm met with a blank stare. No. And all of a sudden they start realizing when the facts are actually put out there of like, show me how they cared, show me how they loved, show me how they respected, show me how they honored you, starts becoming more clear and more clear that they didn't. But you see, in the relationship, with the highs and the lows, the ups and downs, the abuse, and then the person telling you that they love you, with the screaming and the yelling, but they say, hey, I care about you, with ghosting, and then, but I do want you in my life, it gets all confused up here. It got all really crazy and confused of, wait a second, do they like me? Do they not like me? I need to try harder. I need to work better so that they do understand that I care. Every single time you'll show up for that person, and they don't show up for you. This is common in these types of relationships. Sometimes people will be talking in one-on-ones and they're explaining what's happening in their relationship, and sometimes they'll be like, and this happened. And they're like, how did you know? And I'm like, it's the same. It's the same with multiple relationships in the narcissistic world, because it's like they're all cut out of the same textbook. They just have different styles, different genres, different languages that it comes out in, but it's all very typical and it's all very similar in so many different aspects. A narcissist, when they try to come back, when they try to hoover you, that is not a show of care. That is not a show of love. That is not a show of affection or trying. You have to validate it against the facts of what has happened in the relationship, what is happening currently in y'all's communication, and what has been the track record and what is still going on today. Because sometimes people will look at that and they'll be like, the narcissist didn't hoover me. Like, why? Like, was I not good enough to hoover? It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that at all. Because the only fact is that the narcissist didn't care about you. They only cared about themselves. And that's the hard reality. That's the hard truth that is very hard for a lot of people to swallow. But the sooner you're able to start reading that back to yourself, to telling yourself that story, to understanding, to rewriting, hey, this is how my mind thinks of it, but in reality, they didn't care. You know how they didn't care? Because they didn't show that love. They didn't respect my boundaries. They didn't honor me by telling the truth. They didn't respect our relationship by staying faithful. And when you start to look at the facts, you start to see and you start to understand step by step how to start breaking free of that other person and how to start breaking free of that concept of, oh, they didn't care. If they cared, they would have tried this. If they cared, they would have come back. If they cared, they would have hoovered or reached out. Like, no, those two things don't go together. A hoover is a vie for control. A hoover is someone who's coming back to manipulate and control you. And if you've been in a narcissistic relationship and you left and that person's trying to come back in your life, it's not a sign of affection. It's a sign of manipulation to see what they can get away with, how much they can come back and control you, and how much you're going to put up with. As you set boundaries, boundaries are for your safety. Not just to keep the narcissist at bay, not just to keep them locked in a box of you can only act this way. The boundaries are to protect you. To protect you of how much bullshit you're going to put up with. You have to keep those boundaries, you have to keep those consequences, and you have to start changing the story that you're telling yourself, because oftentimes we let our feelings get in the way of the facts, and as a result, it convolutes everything that we're looking at, and we start being attracted to the person who abused us, we start wanting to go back to the person who abused us, and we start thinking that if we don't get that abuse, that it doesn't mean that they care about us anymore, and that's as far from the truth as it can possibly be. Continue to learn about narcissism. Continue to learn what a narcissist is. Continue to learn their care, their affection, and how it factors in with the facts. Because the facts are what is going to set you free from that relationship, from that bond, from those lies. The facts are going to be what sets you free. If you like what you see here, subscribe to me, follow me, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Would love to interact with you guys there as well. Listen to me on podcasts. We got Apple Podcasts and also Spotify. Leave me some ratings, give me some comments. Would love to hear more from you. If you ever want to talk one-on-one, I talk with people that come to me and they say, hey, I think I'm a narcissist. And I also talk with people that are in narcissistic abusive relationships. Help them break out of the trauma bond, help them work through, process stuff, get closure, work through different situations that they're in. Then reach out. rawmotivations.com, one-on-ones. That's where you can reach out, schedule a time with me. Would love to chat with you, be able to help any way that I can. Thanks so much.
What if my narcissist didn't hoover? What does that mean? What do I do now? You see, in the realm of narcissism, and as people learn about NPD, how it works, how it goes back and forth, the terminology, gaslighting, manipulating, love bombing, all this type of stuff, people start realizing the words of hoover. So hoover is the idea of the narcissist that they want to try to get back into your life. So they'll try to do that any way possible. So they'll try to reach out to you. They'll try to reach out to you through just regular text, through phone calls, through Instagram, like whatever it might be. They'll try to reach out just in a small way, just to be able to engage in some type of communication. Because if a narcissist can step back into your life just slightly, they can start a conversation that can lead to controlling you. They are masters of their craft. They are masters of manipulating. So if they can just get in the door just a little bit, they got a chance to be able to control you. So narcissists will do that through what we call hoovering. Again, it can be you just reaching out, contacting. It can be trying to contacting you through different people. So maybe you've blocked them and they start calling, your friends. Be like, hey, I'm worried about so-and-so. I haven't heard of them. Like, I haven't heard of what's going on. Or they'll start calling your family. Like, hey, have you seen? Have you heard? And if the family and if the friends aren't educated, they might actually say more than what they should. So you have to be careful about that. With hoovering, they'll try to reach you through any avenue possible. They might stalk you. They might show up at your work. They might show up at your house. They might try to contact you through your kids. Like, you never know. But they'll try to get back in your life. Anything they can do to get a small foothold that can lead to control. So hoovering will happen, like I said, with many different things. There's a person I was talking to the other day that how they were hoovering is they were interacting with the person saying like, hey, I just really miss the dog. Like, I know we're not together anymore, but like, I just want to come over and like, interact with the dog because like it is our dog. Like, we had him since a puppy, like all this kind of stuff. Hoover, 100%, because they don't care. They didn't care about you, which is why they left. Like, they're not going to care about the dog. The only reason that they're
caring about the dog is to get a foothold back in your life. So a lot of times you hear about hoovering in the whole narcissistic community, and people start getting this concept in this mind in their head that hoovering always happens. Okay? Sometimes it doesn't. But what happens is you'll get in a narcissistic relationship, you'll get out of it, and you start learning all this stuff about narcissism, and then you start realizing, wait a second, like there's hoovering, and they didn't hoover me. Like they didn't come back. Like what happened? What went wrong? And people will start to take that concept and they'll twist it around to start making them think that they did something wrong. Now, if the narc doesn't do the normal hoover, there's another aspect called reverse hoover. That's where they don't contact you. They don't reach out. They might touch base with like friends and family or like people that are in your same like circle of friends, not to contact you, but just to make their presence known, to make sure that you know, that they know that this stuff's going on. They might post stuff on social media that correlate back to you. You know, one person that was posting about like astrology and stuff, and then all of a sudden the narcissist starts posting stuff about astrology. Never posted about that before, but starts posting, and all of a sudden they're like, "Wait a second, is that towards me? Is that?" And they start doubting, they start wondering, or the narcissist will start the shame, or they'll start the smear campaign. Just anything they can do that doesn't contact. I didn't reach out to you, but ends up making a scenario that you have to reach out to them, or that you want to reach out to them. This is what's often called the reverse hoover. Well, they'll do a lot of different things around you. They might even like a post. They might even view your story. They might do several different things like this, so it starts messing with your mind, and you start thinking like, maybe I need to reach out. Or when they leave, they'll try to make sure that you feel all the blame. So they sit back and be like, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait till this person thinks about it for a period of time. I'm going to post a bunch of stuff on my social media saying like how I was hurt, how I was abused. It's going to mess with your mind till you get to the place of like, you know what, maybe I should reach out and apologize. Maybe I should reach out and apologize for like what I did or how I responded. And you know, maybe that'd be the right thing to do. The narcissist on the other side of that is counting on that. They're counting on your emotions, your goodwill, and your empathy in order to be able to control you. If you've been in a toxic relationship, if you've been in a relationship that's lying, gaslighting, manipulating, cheating, all that stuff's built on lies, and you've gotten out, stay out. Don't even go back to the point of, hey, let me apologize. Hey, let me smooth things over. Hey, let me end things normally. That's for normal relationships. That's not for narcissism. It's not for toxic relationships that are geared towards controlling you. All that is a way for them to get a foothold back in your life and start to control and manipulate you. So I've talked about hoover, talked about reverse hoover, and they get to the place where people know all about these terms, hoover and reverse hoover, and they leave the narcissist, and then they don't contact them. They don't hoover, they don't appear to reverse hoover, they literally just don't contact them. And then the person starts thinking, maybe this was me. Maybe I'm the person that was the narcissist. Maybe I'm the person that caused all this. Maybe it was all me. It wasn't. And it's not true. And you have to look at the facts of the relationship, the facts of the rage, the facts of the cheating, the facts of the gaslighting, the facts of the isolation, everything that the narcissist did. You have to take a look at that and start to see and start to understand that the facts don't support that concept that it's all your fault or that it's you. But that'll happen. People will get to the place and they'll think like, why didn't the narcissist hoover me? Was I not good enough? And a lot of times when they talk about this, when they ask this question and when they're struggling with it, I try to ask them to like define. I was like, what does hoover actually mean to you? And a lot of times the answer is when they're struggling with this question is like, well, I thought like if he'd hoover me, then at least show that I was like good enough or like that he cared. I'm like, that's it right there. That he cared. Did the narcissist actually show that he cared? No, he didn't. He raged at me. He yelled at me. He manipulated me. He controlled me. Exactly. See, what you're looking for is you're looking for the narcissist to hoover you back and to show this care when they actually didn't. They didn't show care. They weren't loving. But you're looking for a false reality. You're looking for something that doesn't exist. So when you put that question in your mind of, why isn't he hoovering me? Did he not care? That question right there needs to be changed around. And you need to start thinking of it differently. It's not that they're not coming back because they're not caring. It's because they didn't care at all. It's why they cheated. It's why they gaslit. That's why they lied. That's why they left. And so the fact of them not coming back isn't like an idea of them caring, because they don't care at all. If you like what you see here, please follow for more. Please subscribe. Would love to interact with you on any of my social medias. So check out my smaller videos on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Would love to interact with you there. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit like. Thank you so much if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I really appreciate that. Feel free to give me some ratings or reviews, or just drop some comments so I know what questions you have, what thoughts are going on. Would love to talk to you more. If you want to interact with me one-on-one or in a group setting, reach out to me with rawmotivations.com. Would love to talk to you, whether you're a narcissist or suffering of narcissistic abuse. That's what I'm here for, to be on this platform to bring awareness, hope, healing, growth, and change. Thank you so much.
What happens when the narcissist stops hoovering? Maybe you've been in a relationship with a toxic person where they keep coming back over and over and over again, and all of a sudden they stop and you're like, wait a second, what happened? They've always come back. They've always put forth this interest into me. What's actually happening? Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to dive in. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, change, and development. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, the creator of the NARC app, and your guide in the 45-day Clarity Challenge that you can access at claritychallenge.net. If you like what you see here, then please subscribe. Hit that notification so you can get notified when we go live, when we produce new videos, just to be a part of the community and to grow your awareness, and maybe even share a video with someone else who might be struggling with the same type of confusion or the crazy making of dealing with a toxic person. Well, today we want to talk about hoovering. Before we do, real quick, if you hadn't had a chance, be able to check out our journals. We do have From Fantasy to Reality, and also the new one that is out, From Regret to Gratitude. Be able to check those out. You can get those at rawmotivation.com/books. But a lot of times we say, hey, journal, but I want to be able to provide stuff for you to be able to start that process, or at least know where to begin. Okay? A lot of times when we talk about narcissists, we're talking about like they always hoover, right? And I know I pretty much always say that, of like narcissists always hoover, because I want people to get in their mind of they typically come back. Now, they might come back in 1 week, they might come back in 1 month, they might come back in 1 year, they might come back in 10 years. We've seen it all. But at the end of the day, a lot of times they do come back. And we want to prepare you, and we want to make sure that you are ready to move forward so that when they do come back, they don't hold anything over you. They don't even sideline you. They don't even like distract you, because you're so moved on and so grown and so developed that it doesn't even bother you. But what happens when they don't? Maybe you've heard me say it. Maybe you've heard other people say it about they always hoover, and then you're like, wait a second, they didn't hoover me. Or they hoovered me for a period of time and then they stopped. What's going on? All right, so what we're going to talk about today is hoovering, why, what happens when they come back, and what happens when they don't come back. Okay, so diving right in, what is hoovering? Hoovering is this idea coming from the concept and the word of like hoover, the vacuum, of the idea of sucking someone back in. It's the idea of sucking the victim back into the toxic relationship, back into a place where there is an unbalance of power, where the narcissist is in control and can manipulate the other person to suit their own needs. Typically, as a result, the person will get pulled back in, the abuse will get worse, life will get even more devastating, and they'll feel completely stuck and completely trapped. This hoovering is not this aspect of how this person loves or cares, but is typically the way to get them back into toxicity. Oftentimes putting forth false promises, love bombing, gaslighting, offering these apologies, or anything like that to get to the place of saying, like, you need to come back. Sometimes they'll go to the place of threatening self-harm, of like, I'm going to hurt myself if you don't do this. I'm going to do this, and try to be able to emotionally blackmail, manipulate, anything like that to get you to the place where you come back into the relationship and they gain control.
That's the goal. Reestablish control over someone who started to pull away, who left them, whatever it might be, is to reestablish control and dominance over another person. So that's really like the why of it. Like if we sum up this aspect of hoovering, it typically is this aspect of control. Just period. Control. Narcissist wants to control you. That's why narcissist views you as transactional. That's why the narcissist views you as a toaster, as an appliance to be in their life so they can use, manipulate, and do whatever they want to because they're entitled to you. That's what they think. Sometimes this hoovering part is to prove their worth. Of like, well, I was with this person, they left me. I'm going to show that they still like me. I'm going to show that they still think about me. They still love me. They still think about me, don't they? I'm going to hoover them back. Okay, now they're not always thinking in those words, but it's the same concept. Sometimes it's to prove their dominance or their power over another person. Like, see, I'm good. I'm really amazing. This person, yeah, I'm still all that. And sometimes it's just the fact that they get low on supply and you're the next person on the totem pole. You're the last person on the food chain that they were with, so they go back to that person because they're like, well, I was with this person, got easy access to this person that I was already with, so I can probably walk through that door again. And the majority of time, people leave that door again thinking naively that the narcissist will never come back into their life. So let's talk about hoover. When they come back, what's actually going on? Because this is typically where the person gets confused, where they're thinking that the narcissist has actually changed, where they're thinking something's different. Maybe this is what it is. Maybe this person is actually going to be the person that I want them to be. But typically it's just hidden by false apologies, and it's typically hidden by a narcissist coming back into your life to still manipulate and still control. Well, when this happens, a lot of times you are attached to the maybe. And this maybe is the hope, the possibility, the potential. The four wheels of the trauma bond that makes it go. Of like, maybe this person's going to come back. Maybe they love me. Maybe they actually care. I hope they come back. I want to see them. I love them so much. I care about them. Maybe they'll come back. There's this potential. We had potential. He has potential. She has potential. Like we had so much potential together. Maybe they'll come back. And it locks you into this toxic addiction. This addiction that says that there is a possibility that this person might come back into your life, and you hold on to that hope. You see, a lot of times when people hold on to that hope, their anticipation levels rise to a degree that it produces almost the same type of effect as someone who's been addicted to cocaine. Even if you think of something as simple as Pavlov's theory, where the cat starts salivating when the bell rings, that's literally what's happening. As a narcissist is oftentimes training you to grovel at their feet. Training you to come back. Training you to let them back in. So typically that hope and that potential locks you into the maybe, the possibility that something might happen. Now it could be 1 week, it could be two months, but a lot of times you'll see them come back into your life and it'll be a short period of time. 1 week, 2 months, 3 months maybe, and then it starts to change back to normal. The normal abuse that you were suffering to start off with. And typically return to the same, and oftentimes the abuse will ramp up. Typically, if the person was at this level of abuse, okay, let's say a level 2 abuse, and they left, and you let them back in, that level 2 abuse is now the same as a level 0, because now the levels keep moving up. Let's paint it in a different picture. Let's say that person was emotionally abusive. They were yelling at you, okay? And you were like, we can't do this anymore. We're separating, okay? So they were yelling at you. When they come back into the relationship, yelling at you is already there. Like it's already there like pretty quickly. Now it goes to hitting you. Like you see, like it's almost always ramping up. And time again, we talk to people who have been hoovered, who have got sucked back into the toxic relationship, and they're like, yeah, it got worse. Every single time. It got worse. And this is the part where it confuses you because you're left thinking that you're dumb. You're left thinking that you're the idiot because you're like, why would I let this person back in? Because you were hooked. You were addicted to that hope, to that potential, to that possibility that it just might happen. That person that you love just might care for you. And then you're left with the realization that they don't. A lot of times this is where you start to feel stuck and the cycle repeats over and over and over again. All right, so what about the hoover when they don't come back? When they're no longer in your life, they don't come back. Sometimes this can be the aspect of transitional supply. Okay. And side note, I think we have a video on this, but transitional supply is oftentimes quick, oftentimes very like emotional on the side, not as much on the gift side for the love bombing, but emotional side gets to the place where they get what they want, or they find the person that they want, and then they just dump that person and never come back. Like, there are narcissists that do that, but we normally say they always hoover so that you're prepared. But what happens when they don't come back? Maybe they've already come back 2 to 10 times, and you're like, wait a second, why aren't they coming back now? And this is where it gets really confusing, because you start asking yourself questions that actually lead to wrong conclusions. You start asking yourself, what did I do now? Like, they've come back every single time. Why did they not choose to come back this time? And you start to get in, and you pause, and you start to get confused of like, I don't understand. What did I do now? And that confusion leads to something even more of like, was I not good enough? And you start to degrade your thinking to a place that you're letting a toxic person control your thoughts and your opinions and your actions. Because that person didn't treat you good enough the first time they left. The reason they didn't come back is because they don't care, just like they didn't care all the other times. But typically it's just a power and a control thing. But getting to the place of saying, like, was I not good enough, starts to imply that you are giving your value to another person, that you are letting that other person control or dictate the value that you have, the worth that you have, which is completely false. But it's a story. And it's a story that if you let yourself believe it, you will continue to go back and you will continue to stay in a victim mindset forever until you change your story. A lot of times you're left thinking and assuming that a hoover means that they cared. That because they came back into your life the other 5 times, that you actually think that this person had some level of care for you. The problem is they didn't, because they continued to leave. And the fact that they finally left meant that they actually put it out there that they do not care. You need to understand at the core of it, the narcissist doesn't care about you. The narcissist only cares about themselves. Nobody else. You don't matter. Now, when you hear that, you need to understand you matter. Just not to the narcissist. Just not to a toxic person who doesn't care about you, just cares about themselves. You need to understand that you matter and they didn't even think of you in it. Now, I've said a lot of things here at the end that are like hard hitting, that are like, whoa, like that really hurts. And I understand, and I'm not trying to leave you on a bad note of this really hurts. I'm trying to say there is a way forward. There is a way for you to move forward and to get that healing. If you'll go to escapetoxicity.com, you can actually be a part of our new challenge that we have out. That's a 7-day challenge. It's small, it's short. It's just a week. To be able to invest in you and to be able to say, hey, I'm going to put forth the effort to actually grow myself, to actually be the person that I need to be the person that I want to be, to find the person that I used to be before I was with this toxic person. It starts to deal with some of the hard truths that you need to hear. It starts to deal with some of the boundaries that you need to develop. It starts to deal with the simple things that you can start putting into place that'll help you on your healing journey. So go to escapetoxicity.com today to be able to check out what's there and to be able to understand, hey, we're trying to heal, we're trying to grow, we're giving you the tools. The choice is now up to you. Will you make that choice to invest in you and to find your healing? Why don't they love me? Like, why didn't they come back? Like, if you've been with a narcissist, they didn't care to start off. Person in your life didn't love you because they didn't come back? Did you ever see that, hey, they never came back, which somehow must mean like they don't care anymore, they don't love? Like, how is that possible? Like, we had years together, we had 6 years together, we had 6 months together. Like, what is actually going on? Every relationship that I've had before, like, we might have broken up, or we might have had like a bit of a distance, but then we always came back and figured it out, or we decided, hey, this wasn't working, but they just disappeared. What does that actually mean? Why aren't they actually coming back? What's going on? If you guys don't know what hoover is, we're going to be talking about how narcissists hoover, and how a lot of times when we're talking about narcissists hoover, it happens often. It happens a lot. But sometimes it doesn't happen. And that ends up confusing people a lot of like, why didn't they come back? Did they not love me? Did they not care? Like, was I not good enough to get hoovered? Was I not good enough for them to come back? Did they not love me enough to actually try? I want to dive into that a little bit today to give you like an idea. And we're going to talk about two main types of hoover, and that's regular hoover and then also reverse hoover. And also give you an idea of like what it actually is and how it actually applies. If you guys are new here, I'm a narcissist, and I'm on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. And I'm on here trying to be self-aware, saying like, hey, this is my journey. You know, from now being at the time of this recording, like almost 2 years into therapy, every single week, like trying to figure out how to continue to work on changing, modifying, and changing the story that I'm believing so I can change my life. And that's how I try to work with people, to help them see how they can change their life, how they can go back and they can see, hey, what I'm believing is a false reality. I need to change my perspective and I need to grow, heal, and change in this way. And we're able to work with a lot of people on a day-to-day basis, whether that's just in coaching, like one-on-ones, whether that's with coaching events or meet and greets or different workshops that we're doing. We're able to work with people to try to help them understand that process of changing that story in order to be able to change their life. And it's amazing to see when we put them through a system, when we put them through a process of like, hey, this is the tool that you're going to use to help rewire your mindset of how that healing, growth, and change starts going. And then all of a sudden it clicks and it just like skyrockets. It shoots up. We see a lot of people glowing up and growing up in an awesome way. If you want to be a part of that, would love to reach out. Please reach out at rawmotivations.com. Would love to interact with you. Would love to talk to you. If you want to see other people that are growing, that are changing, and that are also supporting and helping others, then check out the NARC app. Just type in NARC. What it stands for is Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. Community of like-minded people to help you grow, heal, change, and develop. And you can go on there and you can look at the courses. You can go on there and you can see the 9 characteristics of the DSM-5. Healthy dating after abuse, boundaries, how to process the guilt, the lies the narcissist tells, a lot of different things that are on there. You can track your no contact. You can record your truth. You engage in our weekly lives and our monthly coaching where we have coaches come from all over the globe to be able to help impact you and help you grow and move forward and develop even more. Would love to be able to have you part of that. Just download the NARC app. Follow us on any of the social medias, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're everywhere. Just look up Raw Motivations. I'm super excited to be able to interact with you and be able to help you along your journey. So what is hoover? Okay, what is hoover? So a hoover is the idea, it comes from the idea of almost like a vacuum, of like suck you back in. The narcissist wants to suck you back into that toxic relationship, to be able to get back involved in the toxicity that was happening in that relationship, whether that's through the words, whether that's through violence, whether that's through the manipulation, the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, the financial abuse, whatever it might be. The goal is to get you back in their life, to be able to abuse, reuse, and go back through the whole thing. If you didn't know, that's what we talked about this morning with the video that came out earlier. So when we talk about hoover, a lot of times we talk like, hey, narcissists come back. Like a lot of times when you leave a narcissist or when they leave you, don't be surprised if they don't come back in your life a month later, 6 months later, 6 years later, because oftentimes it happens. This is why we talk a lot about block, ghost, go no contact. So there's no way for them to come back in. And what happens is you hear like almost 99% of the time narcissists come back, and then you have several people that are like, wait a second. The person that was toxic in my life, they didn't come back. Either one, that means they're not a narcissist, or two, that means I wasn't good enough. Well, what you have to remember is narcissists operate in a lot of different ways. We're just saying a lot of times what's normal or what we see often to try to help prepare everyone. I would rather you be prepared, at least to make sure that you have boundaries in place so this person can't get back in your life and they never come back, than not be prepared and all of a sudden you get hoovered and get sucked back in. Because you'd be surprised more often than not, when people have their guard down, when people have the door open, the narcissist walks back through and ends up controlling, manipulating, moving back in, anything like that. So what I want you to understand first off is that when we're talking about hoover, it doesn't mean that the person cares about you. Because oftentimes people are like, they didn't come back, so that must mean they didn't care about me. Well, that's a good thought to think. In reality, that is the truth, period. They didn't care about you. They didn't show it. They didn't demonstrate it. They didn't live that way. They didn't care about anybody. All they cared about was the mass that they're producing, then infatuation with the self, with the version that they're putting out there. So when the narcissist didn't come back, it means they didn't care. If the narcissist came back, it means they didn't care. There's not an aspect of a hoover that actually invokes any aspect of care. It's all about control. And they'll tell you they're coming back and they're going to change. They're going to get better. They'll say they're going to be committed and like, we need to go ahead and get married and I love you so much. Like all this stuff will happen really fast. But at the end of the day, they'll go back to their behaviors because they're not coming back because of changed behavior. They're not coming back because they're extra committed. All they're coming back is to try to extend their stay in your life, to be able to keep you on tap, to be able to have you be the next person or the transitional supply or anything like that, to be able to manipulate and to be able to control you. A Hoover does not care. So there's two types of Hoover that I talked about. Let's talk about like the regular one. Okay. So a lot of times this is where they just come back into your life, right? Like this is where they blow up your phone, where they're calling you so much, where they're texting you, where you can't like get any work done because they just want to come back. And a lot of times they'll come back and they'll be there and begging on their knees, like, please let me back. Like, I'm sorry. Like they'll say a bunch of stuff, right? Oftentimes they'll be like masked with the idea of like love bombing, giving a ton of gifts, be like, I'll spend time with you, like future faking, like, hey, we'll do this. Like all this stuff will happen inside the relationship of like, hey, like I'm back. Like we're going to work on this. Like I promise, like I'm going to grow, I'm going to change. And they're going to tell you that they care so much. They're going to tell you that they care about you, that you're the best person ever, that you're the only person from them, and they can't believe they did that or they made that mistake or that you pushed them away. Like whatever it might be, they're going to do whatever they can to come back and change. And they're going to try to change as far as like produce this fake change. A lot of times you'll see a narcissist will promise change. Like, I'm going to get better. Like, give me one more chance. And you don't start to put the pieces together until it's the 20th chance. Till it's the 15th time that they've cheated and come back. Till it's the 10th time that they've kicked you out and then they've let you back in the house. A lot of times a narcissist will try to hoover and come back into your life by promising change and by trying to say like, hey, like this is what I'm going to do. The problem is they're not able to show you. Not able to show you them actually making change. Because their version of change is coming back into your life, sweeping it under the rug, and going back to how life was. Life can't be the same. Otherwise, it'll keep going back to the same abusive cycle time and time and time again. Oftentimes, you'll have a narcissist come back in, and they'll promise you things, but they'll also get to the place of like, hey, like it was a dumb mistake. Like all I could do is think about you. Like, please, can we go ahead and get married? And you'll see that Hoover come back hard and heavy of like, oh my gosh, they finally figured it out. They love me now. They've been cheating on me for 6 weeks, but they love me now. And now they want to get married, and people do that. And so you have to be careful. If you've been broken up with a narcissist and they come back to Hoover you back in, they might promise you some crazy stuff. Marriage, kids, be devoted, and they'll try to win you back. All those different things that are happening. You're like, wow, this is actually real. And a lot of times it's fake because it's just a Hoover. It's just trying to get back in your life, to manipulate, to control, to check whatever box, to give you, to put a small investment of like, hey, you want marriage? I'll give you marriage. Now we're back to abuse because now I have you. That's the regular idea of like Hoover. What you have to remember is a lot of times narcissists are addicted to supply, of course, but they're also addicted a lot of times to the chase. They're addicted to getting another person. And oftentimes you'll see this where a narcissist will chase and chase and chase and then finally get you, maybe wear you down, break your boundaries, like get through the things that you've tried to put to protect yourself. And once they get through, they're like, whew, done, awesome, check that one off, next. And they go to the next person. Because a lot of times they're not at a place where they can emotionally, mentally, like physically actually go through and be like, okay, now I've learned about this person. Now let me help like invest in this relationship. It's just about let me get through, let me chase, let me absorb all the information I have, and then all of a sudden once that's done and I've learned everything and they're good, then they no longer have any interest in me, they're boring, I'm going to move on to try to find someone else. And a lot of times you see the narcissist that addicted to the game, that cycle, the push, the pull, the idealized, the value, the idea of like, let me push you away and then let me see if I can get you back. Let me do this. Let me see if I can get you back. A lot of times when they do the push-pull, there starts happening where you start reaching out more, especially with silent treatment, some gaslighting, things like that. You start reaching out more. Of like they pull away, they get silent, and you're like, wait, I did something wrong. Let me go find them. And what the narcissist slowly finds is over a period of time that you keep coming back every single time. So they're like, wait a second, now I can pull off even a reverse Hoover. I can make life really awful for them. I can leave, and I can just sit back and I can wait. Because I know after everything that I've planted in the relationship that you're going to come back. And a lot of times this is based on the pattern of the people that come back to the narcissist. Like in the relationship, that push-pull, and the narcissist kind of sitting back, and then you reach out. Same idea with reverse hoover. Narcissist discards you, walks away, and then you can see, like, wait a second, like, they're still around. I still don't know in my life. Maybe I should reach out. And you end up reaching out to try to make it feel better, or try to smooth it over, get closure, whatever it might be. And they're like, ha, I got you again. You say they position themselves to be able to have that where it's going to happen, where you're going to come back. A lot of times people think like, oh, it's just out of chance that we like ran into each other. Like, no, like it's typically not, especially if you're talking about a reverse hoover. It's typically where they position themselves where you're going to run into each other, where you're going to see each other, where you're going to see them. And eventually you're going to reach out because like, are you following me? Like, what's the problem? Like, are you stalking me? Like, oh, I saw you the other day. Like, they try to do that so that you're the one that initiates. A lot of times they'll watch your social media, try to be able to glean information like, oh, are they actually happy? Like, what's actually going on? But they know if they trigger you in certain ways, maybe you'll reach out. Sometimes they'll reach out to friends or to family just to be able to get you to react. And then in their minds, I didn't reach out. They reached out to me, which shows that they still want me. So I want you to get from this is like, if you've been in a toxic relationship and you've gotten out and you're wondering and you're kind of questioning yourself of like, why don't they love me? Like, why didn't they come back? Like, if you've been with a narcissist, they didn't care to start off with. That's the cold hard truth about it. And the other thing you have to understand is even after they didn't care to start off with, if they did come back, it doesn't mean that they care. All it means is they're trying to extend their stay in your life and try to be able to confuse you, manipulate you, and control you even more. If you're dealing with that today, would love to talk to you. Go to rawmotivations.com, click on the one-on-ones, schedule a time. We can sit down, we can talk, we can go through the traits, we can go through the things that happen to give you an idea and a perspective of what you've actually been going through and to try to give you clarity from the crazy making. Sometimes people ask the question like, why didn't my narcissist hoover me? Only to get sucked back in a week later, a month later, maybe even a year later. Maybe you've been in a cycle and you're looking at, wait a second, like I left this relationship, now I'm back in it. I don't even know how I got here. I don't even know what happened. Maybe you've noticed that over the past 8 years, it's been a cyclical in nature. Oh, we leave, we break up, we get back together, we leave, like all back and forth. And you start to realize like, wait a second, like this is not an actual long relationship, but it's been a short like stint of like all these mini relationships where we've broken up and gotten back together. And you start to realize like, what is actually going on? Like, why am I doing this anymore? Like, why am I in this relationship when it seems like it always ends bad? A lot of times if you've been in a toxic relationship, it'll take people multiple times to leave that relationship. An abusive relationship on average takes people 7 times before they actually leave and stay gone. Because oftentimes abusers are very inept at being able to come into your life and be able to manipulate it so that you stay in their life longer. Normally what we call this phrase is the idea of hoovering. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you're new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this platform to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. Do that by dropping nuggets of truth on all different platforms out there. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We got the podcasts on Amazon Music, Apple, also on Spotify. So if you're on any of those platforms, give us some of the other platforms to follow. Just look up Raw Motivations and follow everywhere to help that community and help us build a people that understand what narcissism actually is. Because a lot of people don't. There's a lot of therapists and psychologists out there that aren't equipped of actually dealing with this. This is why when you go to couples counseling, sometimes you walk out and you feel worse than you did when you went in to start off with, because you walked in with a narcissist and then you walked out and they still had the mask up the whole time, convincing, manipulating the therapist into thinking that you're the toxic person. Well, today we wanted to talk about the idea of hoovering. Hoovering is the idea of where you get sucked back in. So you can think of like hoover as far as like the vacuum hoover, it sucks up the dirt. Like it sucks you back in to a place where you think, I'm trapped. I can't get out of this. There's no way out. And there's no reason why I should be here, but it is what it is. I'm just sucked back in. A lot of times people think that the hoovering aspect is a positive thing. Is it? Or is it actually a negative thing? See, what happens is when you get hoovered is a lot of times you'll get to the end of the relationship and you'll leave the relationship and you'll pull away and they'll start to pursue you more. They'll start to profess their change, their love for you, everything that they want to do. And it's typically at the end of the relationship. We've got a lot of videos on that. Or it's after the relationship. So let's say you broke up, you're completely separated. Now they're pursuing you even more. Now it's phone calls. Now it's texts. Now it's stalking. Now it's actually like showing up. Now it's sending you flowers. Now it's sending you gifts. Now it's sending a bunch of different things and being like, hey, I'm changed. I'm different. Let's get back together. And what you'll see sometimes is two different ways. Of one is an apology and one is the victim, okay? Of like, I'm a victim of like, I'm sorry, like that was just my childhood trauma, like coming out. I shouldn't have yelled at you like that. I'm sorry, can we just work on this? And they'll try to get back in your life using like the victimhood mentality. Like, I wanted to spend more time with you. It was just my boss. Like they were constantly on me. They're probably actually cheating, but they were constantly on me. Like I wasn't able to like spend time with you, like all this kind of stuff, the victim mentality. Then you have the idea of like the fake apology. Okay. And the reason why it's a fake apology is because an apology without changed behavior is manipulation, aka fake. Okay. So with an apology coming from a narcissist, a lot of times you'll have them apologize for maybe their aspect of it, of like, I apologize for like the traits, or like, I'm sorry that like I made you feel that way. But then there normally is something tacked on the end of like, I'm sorry I made you feel unsafe, but I really just couldn't connect with you. I'm sorry I cheated on you, but you really weren't there for me. I'm sorry that I did X, Y, and Z, but it actually was your fault. And they slowly slip the blame under. What you normally see is a narcissist that's trying to apologize. Sometimes will try to put the blame on you to start off with. Of like, hey, like it's your fault. Like it wasn't me, it was your fault. And a lot of times I've used the phrase, they'll say it's your fault for a period of time. And they box up what looks like your fault. Okay, so picture a box right here. Box up this, and they're trying to hand it to you. And they're saying, this is your fault. Then you're like, no, that's not my fault, that's yours. And you're like, oh, okay. And they take the Y off, and then like, hey, it's our fault. And then you're like, okay, I'll take some of that. And then they hand you the whole box. What you don't realize is nothing changes between the your fault and our fault, except they drop the Y to be able to give you the same pack of shit that they started off with. A narcissist apology isn't real because it doesn't follow with changed behavior. They'll come back into your life and they'll start love bombing. They'll be like, hey, I love you so much. Like, we're meant to be. You'd be surprised to know. Like, some people think they're like the special ones out there, that this is unique. No, you'd be surprised to know how many people break up, awful breakup, like get thrown out of the house or whatever. The next time they see the narcissist is proposing. Because it's a giant love bomb and future fake of like, wait a second, I got to get this person back. Let me focus on connecting with them. Let me get there and be like, hey, I love you. I want to marry you. Boom. You're under their control. They just got you. They'll say nice things. They'll build you up. They'll put you on the pedestal. And they'll try to get to a place of saying like, hey, like this is the best that it's ever been. We connect better. We love better. All this kind of stuff. The problem is you keep looking for the real person. The real person that you saw at the very beginning of the relationship, and you think that's real, and you hold out and you wait for it, and you're like, wait a second, now I actually see that person. Like, this is the same person that I fell in love with to start off with. And you're like, wait a second, this is awesome. This is actually who they are. Maybe they were just going through a bad time. Maybe it was just their addiction. Maybe it was just something they were struggling with. Like, this is great. Like, now we can get back together. And you get back together a week later, a month later, it all goes back. Because it never was really changed. There was a addition to the mask. It was a false reality that they were projecting there. Then all of a sudden what happens is they devalue, they pull away. The pedestal that they started building you up on, they all of a sudden ripped out from underneath you. And then you're crawling and desperate and being like, how do I get back on top of that pedestal? How do I get to the place where you actually called me every day, where you actually text me, where you actually spent time with me, where you actually praised me, where you actually, and all that validation was put out there in a form of manipulation and control. Hoovering happens a lot, and it happens once you leave the relationship, where the narcissist will do just about anything to get you back. I've seen this Case in point, like 3 times in the past week and a half. And it's been literally where the narcissist has either said over the phone or has texted the other person, just tell me what you need me to do. I will do anything to get you back. And people need to understand that's not romantic. What that is pure desperation, and they mean it. They will do anything to get you back. They will lie. They will manipulate. They will cheat. They will distract you. They will do anything they can. And if that means fabricating a false reality, putting on a fake persona of change, and coming back into your life just to be able to make it work for a couple more weeks until they can dump you or until they can go back to being the way they were before, they will do that. So if you have someone to say, hey, I'll do anything to make it work, be like, you didn't do anything before. Peace. Go change. But don't change for me because I'm not going to be here waiting for you. With Hoover, there's another one, and that's reverse Hoover. People are like, what is reverse Hoover? Like, that sounds kind of weird. Reverse Hoover is when the narcissist has spent time observing you and grooming you to make you come back on your own. Think of it as like boomerang Hoover. Like really, like what they're doing is they're like discarding you, but they know you're going to come back. And oftentimes this is based on maybe an avoidance attachment style or an anxious attachment style that they groom over a period of time and get to the place where they know if I push you away, you're going to come back to me. So it's like they throw the boomerang away and the boomerang still comes back. They're like, I know this is going to happen. So when they break up or when they leave or when you get out of the relationship, they just kind of sit back and they're like, it's fine. I know they're going to come back. They're banking on that confidence. They're banking on the thought that like they just made your life hell. Either they discarded you or you left. And they just like sit back, kind of like peruse your social media, make sure that you're struggling, and they just wait for you to come back and look for the validation that they know they can give you and that they'll tempt you of once you come back for a period of time, and then they'll take it away. Sometimes people ask the question, like, why didn't my narcissist hoover me? Like, was I not good enough? And the problem is you're asking the wrong question. Because number one, you're basing your question that your validation comes from the narcissist, and it doesn't. Validation comes from you. It comes from inside of who you actually are. It doesn't get validated by how a person treats you, about how a person acts towards you. That's not your worth. That's not who you're defined as. So if you're looking for a narcissist to come back into your life and to hoover you and they don't, and you start to doubt and you're like, wait a second, like this doesn't make sense. Like I thought I was good enough. The narcissist doesn't even care about that. And sometimes when they don't come back in your life, it's just because they're distracted with another supply. Or they're moving on to the next person because they don't care. And they'd rather continue putting up a new mask, projecting onto a new person, the grass is greener on the other side, and continue to move forward in life without thinking anything of the past. The majority of narcissists hoover, yes, they do. You should always prepare and be aware of the possibility of a hoover coming into your life. That's why we say block, ghost, go no contact. Make sure there's no way for them to contact you and also no way for you to watch their social media because they're going to put on a giant production proving to you that the next person is their soulmate, that the next person is the one. So please be careful. Are you constantly getting sucked back in? If you are, there might be a mindset change that needs to happen. There might be something we could talk through and kind of help you work through the process of like, wait, what is the story I'm telling myself that keeps pulling me back to this toxic person? What do I need to do to change, to modify, to get rid of those triggers so that I no longer do this because I'm tired of getting sucked back in? If that's you today, I would love to talk to you or go to a therapist or another coach. I don't care, but like you need to work through this to get out of the trauma bond, to get out of the ruminating stage, and to get to a place where you can be happy, healthy, and whole. Don't hesitate to reach out. So what happens when a narcissist hoover is unsuccessful? What's that actually look like? What's actually going on both sides? Let's talk through that a little bit. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, the creator of the NARC app, and your guide in the 45-day Clarity Challenge that you can access at claritychallenge.net. If you like what you see here, subscribe, rate, review, share anything under the guise of Raw Motivations on all the platforms. But if you like what you see here, subscribe, because you never know when we're going to drop more videos. We drop those daily, but also we go live every once in a while as well. So you want to be able to tune in to some of those events too. Today, when we're talking about narcissist hoover, you might wonder, like, well, that hasn't really happened to me yet. Well, I would caution you, it probably will. The majority of time, a narcissist will come back into your life. It might be 2 weeks, it might be 2 months, it might be 2 years, it might be 20 years. But a lot of times we see narcissists come back into your life and try to hoover you into that toxic relationship. Well, today we want to talk about what happens when they don't get you, when they don't get through to you, when they don't get a hold of you, when they don't suck you back in. What's that actually look like? Well, when we're talking about hoover, just so everybody knows, a hoover is the attempt of a toxic person to suck you back into that toxicity, to bring you back into a place where you are under their control, where they have control over your will, your emotions, your actions, your responses, all those different pieces. And it takes on a lot of different forms. It takes on a lot of different styles, depending on the type of narcissist that you're with or how they relate or interact. But the goal of a hoover is to get you back. Sometimes that's to make themselves look better because of image. Sometimes that's to save money so they can save on their taxes or not have to deal with a crazy divorce, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, it is not because of love and it is not because of care. It is just to get you back. Okay? It is a game. It is a game that narcissists play to be able to control, to be able to manipulate you. Now, does every single narcissist out there view it exactly as a game? Not necessarily. There are a lot that do, but not all necessarily. Okay? But you need to understand that is how it is played. It is played to get you back. Now, sometimes people are under the impression that, like, hey, my narcissist didn't hoover me. They must not have loved me. And the part that you have to kind of wake up on is, if that's your thought process, you need to first step back and understand they didn't care for you to start off with. Majority of people are like, but if they would have hoovered me, then they would have showed that they actually cared. My question typically back to people is, okay, well then how did they demonstrate care on a day-to-day basis? Because the majority of times, the narcissist doesn't do that. They'll say it, but how do they actually demonstrate it? Don't get sucked up in the idea that a hoover actually means care. A hoover just means control. That's all it is. Okay. Well, when we're talking about this, when a lot of hoovers work, they just do. A lot of hoovers are meant to be able to get you back, and we see time and time again that they work. So the question is why? Why do people let toxic people back into life all the time? Why does it actually happen that toxic people come into a person's life and they keep letting them come back into life time and time again? It comes down to it, what I believe is it's because you believe a lie. That's it. You believe a lie of what you want to see in the relationship, what you want to see in the other person. Someone who was inside the Clarity Challenge came up with a cool phrase the other day that was along the idea that they had positive projection onto the narcissist. They were projecting positive things that weren't there. They were putting stuff on that person thinking they actually care. They actually love. They actually respect me. They actually want me. And all those things they realized later, those are things that I put on them. It wasn't things I actually saw. It wasn't things that they actually demonstrated, but it was things that I put on them. It was lies that they end up believing about the other person. A lot of hoovers work and people let a toxic person back into life because they believe a lie over the facts. They believe fantasy over reality. They ascribe to that trauma bond, that hope, that potential that that person might change, that they might get better, and that the relationship might take on a different aspect. And when people get locked on to the hope, potential, the maybe, the possibility of that relationship actually coming to fruition, a lot of times they will sacrifice a lot of the facts and a lot of the truth of the situation for that fantasy. It's one of the reasons why we developed the book, From Fantasy to Reality, the journal, to try to help just like re-engage people with the facts. Ask questions to get you centered on what's actually going on. Well, what happens when it doesn't work? What happens when the hoover doesn't happen and they don't get back with you? When they try or when they attempt and it doesn't happen? Oftentimes is where we see narcissists get even worse. And this is the part that people like don't want to hear because they're like, I'm not even sure I want to go no contact because I don't want it to get worse. Well, it typically gets worse before it gets better. That's the piece that we normally don't talk about on the majority of channels, that like when you go no contact, when you separate from a narcissist, you thought it was bad with the narcissist, a lot of times it's going to get worse, but it gets a lot better. That's the hard part, is a lot of people are scared of that because when it gets worse, you'll see narcissists that come out of the woodwork stalking you more, maybe attacking you, getting upset, and getting to a place where the rage is intense. The rage is huge and possibly a lot of times different and more than what it's been in the past. Because part of the reason what's going on here is when a narcissist tries to hoover and it doesn't work, they'll get worse because of the fact of a loss of control. You see, for narcissists, control is king. Control is the aspect that they want to be able to control you, and they want to be able to control their image. When it comes down to it, the biggest play there is the image. Like, the narcissist has to be able to control how other people see them and experience them, and controlling you oftentimes supports that image that they're putting out there. So loss of control is a huge part, and it is really hard for narcissists. So a lot of times when a narcissist is coming to terms of like, okay, I might be a narcissist, it's like, what are you actually willing to do and give up to give up that control in order to heal and to grow and to change? Majority of people won't give anything up. That's the hard part. So it reveals that they aren't all that. They aren't what they actually say. They aren't actually in it for the relationship, for the care. And as a result, they're showing up with shame until they get to a place where they're going to gaslight. They're going to compartmentalize things like in their mind of like, okay, like this isn't my fault. It's their fault. I can't hoover them back because they're toxic. And so they start switching a lot of things around in their mind. Narcissist minds work really crazy as far as like being able to switch and transition things really carefully. It'd be like the idea of slapping another person in the face, and then that person comes back and they start yelling at the narcissist. And the narcissist is like, oh my gosh, they love me because they're interacting with me. Like, that's how skewed up it can be a lot of times. But that's the concept, is a lot of times the narcissist will get worse. The loss of control is super hard. How they change the thought process to be able to justify what they're doing happens all the time. Okay? Well, sometimes they'll get to the place where they'll start to spiral out even more. And oftentimes they'll start to spiral out even more, and even sometimes like go away, but oftentimes they'll spiral out even more in frustration, things like that, when you're taking back your power. When you're actually starting to heal, grow, and change. Because that ultimately is when you start to win. Now, sometimes people are like, but it doesn't feel like winning. It's not going to feel like winning when you compare yourself to another person. But at the end of the day, when you start to grow, heal, and develop, they start to lose their control, their power, and their influence over you. You start to take back that control, take back that power, and become the person that you were meant to be. Well, when we're dealing with this and the hoover doesn't work, you actually start to change. There's something that starts to switch. When you actually hold a boundary and hold a barrier there, and you don't let that toxic person back into your life, something starts to switch on your healing process. You start to take back your power because they no longer have control over you. You start to identify yourself over the other person. You start to identify your needs. You start to find out who you are. It's one of the things that people lose when they're in a toxic relationship, is they no longer know who they are, and they no longer know how to find themselves. You start to develop self-love. You start to identify the things that really matter, and you start to focus, because a switch has to happen. When you block, when the hoover no longer works, you start to focus on your growth versus fixing them. You get to the place where you understand, in reality, what's going on here, I matter and they don't. Not in a mean, not in a malicious way, but as far as a self-love, I need to take care of myself versus investing stuff in another person that doesn't care and that is trying to pull me down. You start to develop a passion for you. You start to develop a passion of getting away from people that are toxic, of setting healthy boundaries, of moving in positive ways so that you focus on your growth, on your development, and that is key. When you start to take back your power and grow, develop, heal, and change, you take back your power and you step away from toxicity into a positive arena in a positive world. Last but not least, do any of these things sound hard or sound really impossible to you? Would love to have you reach out and sign up for the 45-day clarity challenge, because we walk people through these things to take back your power, to grow, to set up healthy boundaries, to move away from toxicity, to understand yourself of who you are, the direction you're going. Because if people don't know where they're going, they have no ground to be able to set an idea of like, hey, this is who I am, this is what I want, like I don't know what to do. They no longer have boundaries. So many people struggle with this. So we've put in a lot of time and effort to develop the 45-day challenge to help you get that focus back on you. And the focus in all those areas to help you move through the challenge, to help you move through life, to give you the tools to deal with the triggers that plague you every single day. 1 hour a day could change your life. 1 hour a day inside the 45-day clarity challenge could change your life. 45 days. Couple bonus days, couple other things we threw in, but 45 days to help you transform your life. Check it out at claritychallenge.net. Start your healing today. So if those things felt or seemed impossible or really hard, they're not. And we find a lot of people that find their healing going through a step-by-step process to help them be successful in their life, in their business, in their family, in their relationships, everything. But it takes a lot of work. And it takes a lot of effort. And we've tried to script that out to make it as easy as possible to help it be digestible and a way for you to learn, grow, heal, and change.